And welcome. Hey, let's do a sound check and we'll get started. Give me a second. All right, looks like everything is flowing. So, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, January 29, 2025, for the live viewers. For the replay, who the hell knows? But you're welcome here. And we want to welcome everyone to the channel and to the live chat and the comment section, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome on in. While we have a lot to do today, there's so much, just an overwhelming amount of information. And this is the Delphi Anthony Shots connection. And the real question is, who is Anthony Shots, or who was? Who was Emily Ann? Who was? Uh, in my opinion, that's still the lingering question, and we're going to hold Keegan Klein responsible for someday answering to that. But before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone and welcome you all in, and especially a quick greeting to those of you who are here in the live chat. So let's do that, and then we'll get rolling. Want to especially thank Amy for being here and posting the support pathways here. Always appreciate that, Amy, and it's necessary, so appreciate it. We got Don McKenzie, Court of Public Opinion, Rhonda Holton, Cosmo, Dirty Diana, Plain Iron, Crystal Blue Persuasion, Candy M. We got Lisa, 26 Dead Zombies Dude. We got Mark Ellis, uh, Deb, Stephanie, Dawn Steele, V, and her baby daddy. Welcome in everyone. Lisa, other Lisa, um, Nancy Drew 101 is here. Deputy Dog. We got Tracy Fleetwood and Heavy Metal Rehab joining in, along with Rebecca Ann 1965, Terrestrial Babe, Judith Galloway, L'Oreal, Crazy Girl 1203, uh, Miss K. We got EWTN Network, It's a New Day, Scales of Injustice, Candy M, Peaches 81, um, Star Crazed, all right, Trial Junkie, Kate Eleanor, TJ Bits, Carla Johnson 55. We got Bezo Jones. What up, Bezo? Carly, or I said hi. Ben Aaron, Nobody Nut 1717. Sweet Dude Shibby. We got well, that might be everybody. I don't know. Looks like it. But welcome in everyone, especially you lurkers. Welcome in lurkers. Look, join the chat, lurkers. What's up? Don't dox me and Jay Lynn. Who's your daddy? I see. I see. Mama J, JJ Falk Jr., Sweet and Salty. Uh, Gretchen Allen, Two Ears, One Mouth. Steve Johnson. What was I getting at? I was about to shame the hate watchers and say, hey, all you hate watchers, join the chat. Hit the like, please. Send a cash app. Stop being awkward. Steve Johnson, what's up? Swade Smith, what's up? Elizabeth Jones, what's up from Scotland? Uh, Jan Humphrey, welcome in. See, I think my chat just glitched. So let's see. Dark Hearts of Delphi, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the kind words, JJ Falk Jr. What's up, 43 Goblin? Um, but welcome in, everyone. And as I said, even our hate watchers, okay, welcome in. Sure, you're going to hate this one. So I guess I've already given away uh, my baseline speculation, my bottom line here about who is the identity of Anthony Schatz and Emily Ann, because we certainly don't believe that it was only Kagan Klein. What's up, Kate? You and so that's the bottom line. So it, obviously, only those who would know would know. But we're going to leave that open ended, and we'll get into our presentation tonight and looking at some things. There's a lot of concern here. There's, I mean, like everything with Delphi, there's literally concern from every angle, and it's just unfathomable how how insanely complex and questionable every single angle of this is. When old Dougie Fresh Carter said tentacles, I don't think he was fucking around, but what happened to him? What happened to those tentacles? Truly, It's almost as if every single player in this entire thing has lied, has lied, has deceived, has covered ass, et cetera, et cetera. So we wonder, why would every single player in this entire game be deceptive? What sort of situation do you have wherein every single individual exhibits signs of deception? But that's where we are. So let's see. There's just so much. There is literally just so much. Um, so the way we're going to start is like this. Guess we're going to start with taking a look at some basics from the community. Okay, so we'll sort of take a brief survey of the basics from the community, and then we'll get into some more solid information. And our whole goal tonight is to sort of get a basic understanding of the various complexities tied into this Anthony shots. But we all know that it's more than Anthony shots. Uh, and all the complexity surrounding it. So, with that being said, we will get going. And I'll be saving my conclusions till the end because we have to get through all of this stuff um, to reach the end of the line and try to be able to formulate some opinions. So before I give you many opinions, I'll say let's take a look at all of this first, so then my opinions might make more sense to you. And for those of you who are new, I'm glad you made it here. There's so many places you could be seeking Delphi information, but I gotta admit here that the fact that you're here, it's a good thing because by the time this show is over, you should have a far greater understanding of the possibilities of Anthony shots and the possibilities of the other users of these accounts. And and hey, for me, the real question is, what's up with this criminal underworld? I mean, it truly does appear that we have a criminal underworld at play that deals in sex trafficking, drop boxes, CSAM, methamphetamine, and it's nationwide. Okay, nationwide. And furthermore, why are all of these people, and I mean all of them, closely connected to Ron Logan? What an interesting factoid, isn't it? So, with that being said, Prof got to do some reading. I'm not that excited about it, but here we go. Okay. All right. So where we're going to start here, it's pretty simple. It's the original. Um, let me. Gee willikers, come on, man. Does it have to every piece be difficult here? Let's see. So this is from the original press release. And it says detectives with the Delphi investigation. Now, listen, does that say with the Keegan Klein investigation? No, it says Delphi in black and white. While investigating the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, detectives with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and Indiana State Police have uncovered an online profile named Anthony Shots, The profile was being used from 2016 to 2017 on social media applications, including but not limited to Snapchat and Instagram. And that's important to remember because we'll get back to that later. The fictitious Anthony Shots profile used images of a known male model and portrayed himself as being extremely wealthy and owning numerous sports cars. The creator of the fictitious profile used this information while communicating with juvenile females to solicit nude images, obtain their addresses, and attempt to meet them. Pictured below, you'll see images of the known male model and images of the fictitious Anthony Shots profile sent to underage females. We've already identified the male in these images that were used by the Anthony Shots profile. The male that is in the photos is not a person of interest in the Delphi investigation. Detectives are seeking information about the person who created the Anthony Shots profile. Investigators would like any individual that communicated with, met, or attempted to meet the Anthony Shots profile to contact law enforcement by using the information below. Provide as much information as possible. For example, when you communicated with Anthony Shots, how you communicated, and what social media applications the account used, and if Anthony Shots attempted to meet you or obtain your address. If you have saved images or conversations with the Anthony Shots profile, please attach them to your email. Okay? There's no further information to be released at this time. Now, I'll say this, and let me remove this to be able to be a smartass. Now, you and I know that at the time this was released, they absolutely knew that Kagan Klein was the creator of those accounts. Why is it that we always pretend we don't know the basics? Like why do we feign ignorance, or why do we not keep in mind the important context? See, they knew at the time that that came from Kagan Klein or originated with Kagan Klein. So what does this mean? Okay, if we put this back on the screen, what does it mean that they would release this and ask for this, already knowing that Kagan Klein was the originator? Well, what it means to me is they're trying to find out who was the other user of this Anthony Shots profile. Clearly, clearly, they were fishing for more information so they could try to get down to the bottom of the identity of this Anthony Shots profile. But see what they're doing now. So if you take that and look at it retroactively now, or in retrospect, you look at it now, it appears now that they're trying to make this all go away. You know, they're trying to make it all go away. It's all Kagan Klein. It's nothing to see here. It's sleight of hand, right? It's a nothing burger. But they want you to believe now that it was just Keegan Klein. It's just fine. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. It's all going away. Don't pay attention. Don't look over here. But at the time, they were desperately seeking. Remember, there was also a video release. And in the video release, the public relations officer for the Indiana State Police also was he basically said the same thing. He basically read this and he was begging for that information. They begged for the information on Anthony Shots, right? So I guess that's one way to start it there. Now, all right, so I'll be reading some things from you or for you. So these are various conversations from the community. This here says Delphi murders transcripts. Suspect said he knew Liberty German was at a sleepover the night before her murder. Newly obtained transcripts were released shortly after the fifth anniversary of the deaths of Abby Williams and Liberty German, two young girls who were murdered in Delphi, Indiana in 2017. According to News Nation, the Murder Shits podcast obtained transcripts of an interview between a possible suspect, Kagan Klein, and Indiana investigators. Although no arrests have been made in the case, the transcripts detail information that puts the case back in the national spotlight. As Crime Online previously reported, Klein, an Indiana man accused of child exploitation and child pornography, says police told him he was the last person to communicate with one of the two girls killed in Delphi, Indiana in 2017. Heavily redacted court documents say that state police and FBI encountered Klein in 2017. When? Yeah. While conducting a search warrant in Peru, Indiana. That is when they discovered Klein's fake Anthony Shots profile soliciting minor girls online. A subpoena for an IP address led to another address in Peru, and a second search warrant found Klein and his father there. Klein was arrested in 2020 on charges unrelated, allegedly, to the Delphi murders. He has not been charged in the Delphi case. Kagan Klein used a random stranger's photo to lure in underage girls, police say. The recently released interview transcripts happened after Klein was interrogated by an Indiana state trooper and a sheriff's deputy on August 18, 2020. An officer confronted Klein about knowing that Libby was at a sleepover the night before her disappearance and communicating with her. Police. You had told investigators, and I know you say you don't remember a girl that you ever talked to, but I know you remember Liberty German. Klein, inaudible. Police, right. And you know, you talked to her and you admitted talking to her. And I don't think I ever did, though. I think I talked to one of her friends like I told them. You admitted you talked to her, inaudible, for a few hours at a sleepover. And then you blocked her because she was annoying you, remember? You're right, yeah. You remember that? Yeah. A couple pages later. See, I don't remember or saying to meet up with me, though, Klein responded. Okay, let's start there. Let's start there. A. 2017, they knew he was tied to the Anthony Shots account. So why, years later, are they begging for information on Anthony Shots? As if they're still seeking the identity. All right. Secondly, he remembers chatting through the Anthony Shots account to one of the victims, Liberty, or Liberty's account, I should say, to be specific. So the other question is, who may have been using that same account? Because whoever is saying to meet up with them, Klein's saying it's not him. We see what they like to do. So what they say now is, Klein's a habitual liar. He's a compulsive liar. All he does is lie, 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 lie. Well, we'll be looking at that later. Because before you say that all he does is lie, 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 maybe you should stop and think, what if he's telling the truth? And basically, what it leads to is that it would indicate that someone else is also using that account. The murders of Abby and Libby on February 13, 2017. Libby and Abby took a hiking trip at the abandoned Mononhai Bridge. Now, here's a fairy tale narrative. Okay, this is the make-believe fairy tale narrative that they're going to spin. In an outing that was only meant to be a few hours, the girls took photos while strolling across the bridge. But as time passed, their family didn't hear from them. Police were called for assistance. Fairy tale, fairy tale, fairy tale. Now back to the facts. Police found the girls' lifeless bodies a short distance from the bridge the following day, near a trail close to the bridge. Yes, near a trail. I'm surprised they actually included that. They had both been murdered. Yeah, and oddly enough, on Ron Logan's property. Well, the first things we should say is Ron Logan was known by Keegan Kline and his father. Now, would you leave two dead girls' bodies on your property if you had killed them? I didn't think so. The incident was nicknamed the Snapchat murders after Abby took a photo of Libby at around 2:17 p.m. and put it on social media. It's the other way around. But yeah, the Snapchat that doesn't exist. Entirely different subject, but you're going to see where it ties in a little later. Detective said that after the photo was taken, no, it wasn't after it was taken. A man approached the girls and apparently told them down the hill. One of the girls, likely sensing danger, recorded the man's voice on her cell. No, she didn't sense danger. She just happened to accidentally record a bridge guy man. She also managed to take a photo and record a small clip of the suspect. No, she didn't. No, she didn't take a photo of him. Although the face isn't clear in the picture, it was enough to give authorities a general description. Since then, they've been pouring through thousands of tips. Yeah, right. Meanwhile, the detectives continue to ask anyone that may have had contact with the screen name Anthony Schatz to contact law enforcement. The sleepover being referenced in that interview was a week or so prior. Yes, it was. At Kyla Brummett's. Not the sleepover with Abby on the 12th. This was at the home of another one of Libby's friends who tipped L.E. about Anthony Schatz within days of the murders. Which, if you think about it, makes it all the more infuriating that ISP didn't get around to asking about it until more than 4 years later. Holy effing S. Holy effing S. This guy was communicating with Libby German for a while and had been grooming her. It sounds like she had a crush on Anthony Schatz. When one of her friends messaged him that something happened to Liberty, he said he was supposed to meet with her that day. Apparently, she had mentioned to other girls that she was meeting him soon. The beginning of the transcript is very graphic child exploitation stuff. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so I was confused about the Smith family and thought whether that's where the sleepover was. I thought Libby's friend and the Smith girl were two different people. But as I am listening again, I realize the Smith girl is Libby's friend. When you listen to the murder shits, they read over the portion I posted and they use the Smith family in these redacted areas. Yes, to confuse the public more. Indeed. because we all know that misinformation and disinformation rules the day in the Delphi murders. So the detective is saying, look, it's a small town, USA, so you have some distant connections to the girls. But here we have the Smith family and the sleepover with Libby. It's not the Smiths. Okay. I heard as well, but that doesn't measure up with what we learned in the transcript about the quote unquote Smith family. The transcript describes the family structure and how many children. If that is the same as the MJS family, that would make sense. But I thought Klein said he was friends with an older brother or something in the quote Smith family. And I didn't think there was one in MJS family. The house of the sleepover is the same house where a masked man was looking in the girl's window on 2/20/17, a week after the murders, and another Monday. Keegan and Tony left for Vegas on the 21st, which was the next day. Kelsey said this didn't happen. Besides, if it was a week after the murders, what girls are you referring to? Says Smarty Pants Cowgirls 2084. It's in the document. Kelsey said that it's a masked man that didn't look in the window when Libby slept there, and that's true. The masked man 100% was there on 2/20/17. It's in the document. Then Libby wasn't there for it. Right. Was there a description given of the man in the mask? If so, I'm wondering if it matched Keegan Klein. And as far as it being a heavy set guy or anything like that, I used to listen to the podcast, just don't remember if there was a description given. Just to be clear, this is not the sleepover Libby and Abby had at Libby's house. Yeah, you remember the one that Derek and Anna are lying about who brought who where. Remember that? Remember that one? Why don't Derek and Anna's stories about who brought those girls on the day before line up? So, I mean, the basics is, was Anna lying all these years? Or did Derek lie on the stand? That's a whole other question, a whole other can of worms that we have not dealt with yet, has yet to be addressed. That can of worms was opened in the trial. So, thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Imagine, for the super chat. Mr. or Mrs. Imagine. Thank you very much. Okay, let's keep going. Just to be clear. Oh, yeah, I got that one. Okay, good. Now, remember, we're talking about the speak over at Kyla Brummett's. Just to be clear, this is not the sleepover Libby had. It was a week before. That's what I thought as well. Lines are right up about when Libby reset her phone. Ah, yes. 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 Just about the time that phone's reset. Ooh, why was that phone reset? Thanks for adding the clarification. Okay. Yes, thanks for adding that clarification. However, can anyone confirm this was MJS's house? How do we know this for sure? Not the Sandifers. The family's name starts with a B. Please DM it. Oh, blah, blah, blah. That's why we never use names. It's always abbreviations. It's always a bunch of fucking obfuscation of the facts. Use names. I don't remember who this B family is. I tell you. I was going off transcripts. You just blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to remember. Everyone kept saying Libby's friend, the Smith family. It was in MJS family, Pizza King, blah, blah, blah. But I'm seeing someone say B family. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And a female in the family appears to be the one who connected Libby to the shot's profile. Yes, Kyla Brummett. Thank you. I will re-listen when I have a chance. Blah, 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 blah. You see how all of these lack of names or the reluctance to use names over the years has totally confused everybody. You don't want to use names. How about this? If it's a minor under 17 years of age, okay, don't use their names. Use some abbreviations. If we're talking about adults, use the fucking names. I mean, can we stop confusing everyone out here? All right. But yeah, so we had the phone reset after the sleepover at Brummett's when Libby was, quote unquote, introduced to Anthony Schatz. Okay. Police have said that the Anthony Schatz account was the last to communicate with Libby before she died. Okay. All right, y'all. Police have said that the Anthony Schatz account was the last to communicate with Libby before she died. Remember, after only having a contact for a week, she's dead. So let's unpack everything we know about the morning of the murders. Someone was logging in and out of two separate devices. We also know they were logging in and out of the Anthony Schatz Snapchat account. All of this activity is taking place on the morning of February 13th at 8 a.m. at the house on Canal Street in Peru, or somewhere in the proximity to be able to access their Wi-Fi signal. Don't forget that. As detectives detail, February 13, 2017, the day Abby and Libby went missing, quote unquote, they tell Klein, 8 o'clock in the morning at your house, where you and your dad lived, two separate devices. See the numbers here? They're the same. Log in, log out. One device. Log in, log out. All within minutes of each other to the same Anthony Schatz Snapchat account. One of the two suspects in the murks of Libby and Abby was logging in and out of the Anthony Schatz Snapchat account that morning, February 13, 2017 at 8 a.m. And within approximately 6 hours later, Abby and Libby are allegedly taken off the bridge, never to be seen alive again. Explain how these two suspects had nothing to do with Abby and Libby's murders. Tell me how you think it's all one big coincidence. Yeah. I find it very hard to believe that the last communication Libby had was at 8 a.m. that morning. When they decided to go to the bridge, I'm sure there was some communication there with friends and such, especially considering they were going to meet this rich, cute guy. I'm wondering if the cops meant 8 a.m. Instagram message was the last time Anthony Schatz profile communicated with Libby. These are young girls with a significant social network of friends that constantly post status updates and send messages to each other. I highly doubt they went completely dark after 8 a.m. on February 13, 2017 until their deaths. Yeah, well, what you missed there, Mr. Unsilent Bob on Reddit, you missed the fact that the pattern of their phone usage for both girls was severely altered in the 24 hours prior to their alleged deaths. But we all seem to forget that pertinent fact as well, that their pattern of phone usage or social media account usage was altered from the normal baseline. But we'll be getting back to that. We can't determine what time the last message was sent based on this information, says Little Cress 7892. We just know that two devices accessed the account around 8 a.m. On a recent discussion with the prosecutor's podcast, Murder Shits said that law enforcement had recovered evidence of communication between Libby and Anthony Schatz, but not the message content. What a difference recovering that could have made. Very easy to show it's one big coincidence. The guy in the video does not look like either one of them, says Troll Farm Mr. Obvious 1972. If they were communicating with each other, there would be some kind of electronic evidence of this. We have not heard anything on that, says Mr. Obvious 1972, Troll Farm bootlicking cover of children's murders. Old Heart says, nobody said either one of them. The two Peru suspects were the guy in the video. Oh, that's the way to lay the smack down, Old Heart. We do know that two Peru suspects were the very last to communicate with Libby the day she was allegedly murked. We also know two suspects from Peru were communicating with Libby via a fraudulent Snapchat profile, Anthony_Schatz. And that Snapchat app, along with all the messages contained therein, was deleted by one of the suspects on February 25th, 2017 at approximately 9 p.m. after that suspect had been dropped back at his home. Yeah, nothing suspicious about that at all. And it is interesting to note that a suspect had just failed a polygraph exam question whereby he was asked if he knew who killed Abby and Libby. Yeah, nothing suspicious about that at all. Huh, Chubby? Little Frightened deleted GOAT account here. Carroll County Prosecutor McClellan, who pressed for the records to remain sealed, said there was, quote, good reason to believe Allen is not the only one involved. Fox 59. Here we got Chick Hit the Shadow. Anthony Schatz and the man in the ski mask. I've been going over everything, and I am once again hung up on this incident. Before being killed, Libby attended a sleepover less than a week after Abby and Libby were killed. The girl who hosted the sleepover, Kyla Brummett, gave her address to the Anthony Schatz account. The next day, she arrives home from school and sees a man in a ski mask looking through her bedroom window. And it ain't Keegan. This has always stuck out to me because I can't quite make sense of it. Keegan says it wasn't him. Yes, I know he's a liar and that he knows that family and their address, so he wouldn't have needed it or needed to use the Anthony Schatz to get the address. I'm guessing Tony knew this family and their address as well. Yes. So did someone else have access to the account? Oh, what an amazing question, Chick Hit the Shadow. I can't decide if the Kleins and Anthony Schatz account are a crazy coincidence or if there's some sort of connection. The idea that two girls in the same friend group could be targeted by two different unrelated men in the same week is difficult to wrap my head around. No shit. Who was the man in the ski mask? Interesting you ask that, Chick. Interesting. I would wager to bet. I'd be willing to bet that the person in the ski mask was the other user of the Anthony Schatz account and the Emily Ann account. Was he dressed in all black? You know something about that all black? Wasn't there a guy in all black over at the Delphi trails the day they died? Good Stuff to Know says, we know that the Anthony Schatz account asked for her address and that Kagan stated he didn't need to ask for her address because he knew the family. So who, using the Anthony Schatz account, asked for that address? Good question. That's another question that leads me to believe that statement that investigator stated during his interrogation. Someone else used the account. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good conclusion, mister. Good stuff to know. Here comes embarrassed ad 2016. I second this. I believe, but could be wrong, that the police inquired about this incident in their interview with Kagan. He basically says that he has nothing to do with it, but later it's revealed that someone using Kagan's computer had searched for the address that day, or the day before, or the day of the incident. I can't say if this was Kagan, but it's very odd to me that Tony's name has not really been brought up throughout this investigation as a suspect. If you'd ask me, I think Kagan, Tony, and Richard Allen, possibly more, were all working in unison. And to be honest, I really wish that Kagan's interview transcript were easier to find so that we knew more about this incident. Well, let me help you out there, sweet cheeks. I guarantee you this, $1,000 fucking dollars. If there was any connection whatsoever to Richard Allen and the Anthony Shots account or any of these accounts, do you not think that that would have been used against Richard Allen in the court of law in attempting to bury him for 195 years or 350 years or whatever it was going to be? I mean, dude, trying to put Richard Allen into that group just doesn't work, because you can bet your sweet ass that the prosecutor, the state police, the FBI, all of them tried as hard as they could to tie Richard Allen to this Anthony Shots, the Keegan Klein, the ski mask incident, and all these other motherfuckers, Tony Klein. And trust me, it didn't work out, because if it had worked out, you would have heard it in trial. So how do you know Richard Allen's not connected to Tony or Keegan in this incident? Well, it was not used at trial, and it would have been. The case was so flimsy, they needed every piece they could get, and they needed that piece. So you bet your ass it would have been used if it was discovered. So that means there was nothing ever discovered tying Richard to Keegan and Tony or Anthony Shots. Thank you, Chevy Killer. Thank you, Chevy Killer. Chevy Killer. Thank you for the kind words. Super chat. Only the troll farm will tell you that they were connected. Because trust me, the troll farm never uses logic. Okay, so how do you know that what they are saying is wrong? Well, they never use logic. If Richard Allen was tied to Tony or Keegan through this setup here with these catfishing accounts, the Dropbox, or any of that, it would have been used in trial against Richard Allen, because they were pulling out all the stops to get his ass. They had no stops. They had no connection. Therefore, you didn't see it pop up in trial. That would have been front page news. You're correct, Rebecca. Would have been front page news. But let's keep talking, because it's getting thick now. Like, I don't know if you're keeping up here where we are, but see right here, it's starting to get a little thick. Okay. The old Delphi cemetery. Keegan Klein made the statement to Indiana State Police Detective Vito and Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McClelland that he and his dad drove to the old Delphi cemetery on February 13, 2017. Let's unpack that statement that was obviously made on August 18th, 2022, at the meeting held at Grissom Air Force Base, Miami Correctional Facility in Miami County. First off, why that location for the meeting between Vito McClelland and one of the suspects in the murders of Abby and Libby? Well, I'll help you out, because that's a location where the viewing of classified documents is possible. So maybe there's something more to this than we all know. I know for a fact that the media was camped out at the Miami County Jail parking lot shortly after the murder shits released their tip about someone at the Canal Street address looking up that Delphi Marathon gas station. They also released the tip about someone using that IP address at the Canal Street address while logging in and out of the Snapchat app on two separate devices. Law enforcement knew someone looked up that gas station less than a mile from Richard Allen's house, and they were switching their Snapchat app from one device to another. We also know for a fact that someone using that Comcast IP address was the last person to communicate with Libby the day she and Abby were murdered. Those are significant facts when we look at a certain suspect's credibility. We all know he's a liar. Yeah, but that doesn't mean everything's a lie. Sometimes law enforcement is forced to deal with people who lie. Both Detective Vito and Nicholas McClelland met with that suspect at a secure location away from the local media's prying eyes. There's no doubt law enforcement purposely tipped or leaked murder shits about that person looking up the Delphi gas station on the morning of the murders. We know Kegan Kline was arrested on August 19, 2020. And he had been sitting quietly for 2 years in that Miami County jail. It was time to shake up his little pedo world. No sooner had the murder shits released that leaked information and someone was meeting with Detective Vito and McClelland. They had known all along the fraudulent Anthony Shots social media account profile was communicating with Libby that morning and planning to meet her at the High Bridge that afternoon. We now know a suspect met with those two men to give them his statement. Whether you believe that suspect or not, that happened on August 18th, 2022. Just 2 months of intense searches and the arrest of Richard Allen later. We also know that suspect took Detective Vito and Nick McClelland on a tour of the Kelly Avenue Bridge in Peru and the old Delphi Cemetery in Delphi. Where else did they go that day? Did that suspect, Kegan Kline, take them by the house on Whiteman Drive in Delphi? He told murder shits he didn't know Richard Allen. Did he know where he lived? Did they go by that Delphi Marathon gas station that day? Which route did they take to the old Delphi cemetery? Did the suspect know the back route to the cemetery that day? So many details that must be considered before writing this suspect off as someone capable of implicating himself in the savage murders of 2 young girls. The old Delphi cemetery has always been something very telling to me. Someone knew the lay of the land around that old cemetery. And the dangerous bridge, including Logan's property. Someone knew the back of the old Delphi cemetery provided access to the north end of the High Bridge. I suspect they also knew there was an old deer trail that led from the back of the cemetery down to the bend in Deer Creek River near the south end of that long dilapidated railroad bridge. Someone who could have been one of the many hunters who have leased Ron Logan's river bottom property over the 50 plus years he owned that prime piece of hunting land. I don't doubt for one moment We learn how extensively Logan was grilled over who he had leased his property during the many Indiana open hunting seasons. He no doubt could have provided clues to the killer's identity. The old Delphi cemetery provided perfect cover for a person wanting to hide a vehicle that day. There's no doubt about that fact. Someone sitting in a vehicle would not look suspicious in the off chance someone drove through that old rural cemetery in the middle of a workday afternoon. So, how did that 20-something-year-old suspect know the significance of that cemetery? Well, I'll help you out there. Family friends with Ron Logan. That's how. We knew he's on the record stating he'd never ever been to Delphi, but once or twice in his lifetime. We know he lived in nearby Young America for many years, which is just a 15-minute drive down State Highway 218. His dad never drove him to Delphi in all those years they lived in a town with just a coin laundromat and old post office. Surely they went to Delphi with its fast food restaurants and gas station, convenience store full of munchies. I have to believe there's a record of that suspect's interview held on August 18, 2022 at the Miami Correctional Facility. A recorded record of that suspect's statement about his activities on the day Abby and Libby were murdered. There's no doubt some compelling details about their route to Delphi that day and their drive back home over that bridge to Peru. Lots of details that Richard Allen's defense team chose to overlook when deciding who they wanted to put forward with their third-party defense. Why not use the two suspects who law enforcement knew were the last people to have contact with Libby that day? What else could be more significant than that fact? Ask yourself the question before you come at me for how wrong I am to suspect there's more to the Delphi murder investigation than any one of us here on Reddit could possibly know. This is an open discussion. I won't try and rebut your polite comments. We all have our opinions. I don't know what happened that day in Delphi, and yet I have a lot of questions. Questions about whether or not the fraudulent Anthony Shots social media accounts had anything whatsoever to do with the murders of Abby and Libby. I feel like they're valid questions. The Delphi task force was obviously purposely provided leaked information. Obviously purposely provided leaked information to a couple of true crime podcasters troll farm. I think those leaks are what led to Richard Allen's arrest. I think they had a suspect that knew something about the murders on February 25th, 2017. They did their due diligence to find all the children found on that CSAM that came out of that house on Canal Street. They arrested the suspect and waited 2 years to almost the exact day to spring that leaked information about someone looking up that Delphi Marathon gas station. And not long after that, they had a second arrest. Sometimes law enforcement is forced to work with the lowest denominator, the weakest link. Was Keegan Klein the weakest link? The truth is we don't know. We shall see. Yeah, here's what you missed. Okay, here's what you missed. Good speculation. What you missed is there's nothing tying Richard to these douchebags. So you missed that part. Let's continue. To anyone new to this discussion on Delphi trial, I started Delphi trial over 2 years ago, shortly after Allen's arrest. It was a place where I wanted people to be able to share their opinions about the murders of Abby and Libby and their thoughts on the Delphi murders investigation. I had one rule: be nice, be respectful of others, including their comments and posts. If you can't be respectful, take it somewhere else. Nobody on Reddit has a full story of what happened that day in Delphi. Oh, I object. I would have to counter that and say, I bet you people on Reddit, there are a few on Reddit who absolutely know what happened that day in Delphi because they were there and part of it. Allen's defense team insists it was the Odins. Some people insist it was Richard Allen alone. I'm going to continue to ask questions about where law enforcement was looking just prior to Richard's arrest. I think they've known about him all along, and they needed that one person to point him out. Could Keegan have been that person the day he took them to the trip to the old cemetery? No. Let's say this. Let's put it this way. Richard's defense team insists it was the Odins. Some people insist it was Richard Allen's. I would venture to say it's in between the two. Oh, it's something. It's something, all right. It's somewhere in between the users of the Anthony Schatz account and the Emily End account and the Dropbox. It's somewhere between those users and the white nationalists mentioned in the Frank's memorandum, who the defense calls the Odins. Thank you for your comment. I don't know if his story is total BS. In fact, I doubt Vito or McClellan thought it was total BS when they drove him to the old cemetery just a matter of less than 8 weeks prior to Allen's arrest. Did you know the 2 suspects from Peru were the last to communicate with Libby that day? Did you know those 2 suspects were using a fraudulent social media account to manipulate, harass, and groom Libby that winter? Also, did you know they were searching in the backyard of those 2 suspects' mom, grandma, literally within hours? All important things, I'm sure, which Vito and McClellan are aware of. It's very possible there could be more arrests made in the Delphi murders investigation. It's still open, an active investigation. Anything is possible. I'm still leaning TK is involved, but it's getting down to the wire. Puzzlehead.1721 says, I'm still thinking that someone or someone's from law enforcement was involved with the Anthony Schatz account. I cannot shake that the Kleins are involved somehow as well, says Lord of Withy-Woods. What did Kagan have to gain from saying what he said about them being there that day? To launching a phone into the river as they passed over it in a knife. And chiefly that Anthony Schatz more or less arranged for the girls to go to the Monon High Bridge that very day. I know they've been cleared, but I suspect they were even more phones than what law enforcement found. They did miss one in their first search warrant. Who's to say that was the only one they missed? And the river search was exhaustive, but it's not unreasonable to think that they could have missed it or could have searched in the wrong spot. Maybe it was washed pretty far downriver or got stuck under some rocks or in the muck. Interesting point. As the Marathon gas station is concerned, I always thought where it was in relation to the trail system. I've never thought about how close it might be to Allen's house. Although Delphi is rather small, imagine you could park at the Marathon and swing a broomstick and hit more than half the town. Yeah, it's not about Allen. It's about Riley Park. It's basically across the street from Riley Park. I'm unfairly retrofitting. And for the record, I always thought the Kleins were involved, but maybe Libby mentioned to Anthony Schatz where she was heading to that day. And the gas station was the closest place with an address on his Google Maps he could set his GPS to in order to see how long of a drive it was from him to her. And then he decided not to go, and it's just as simple as that. No, it's not as simple as that. This case seems to get simpler and simpler as time goes on. but none of that explains the river search. If the Kleins were not involved, then finding his phone or weapon would not lead to the Rickster. So I think I might believe Ellie on this one and say they found nothing, which is what they were hoping for to prove Kagan is lying, piece of crap, once and for all. No. See, everyone's speculating. There's a whole lot of speculation about this. Then with him finally being all wrapped up, they decide it's time to start over again, grumpy and disheartened. But then, boom, there's Rick's fat face sitting there right in front of them the whole time. Blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. See, you guys, a lot of people are reaching. The loss of the marathon security tapes is just another law enforcement screw up that is hindering the case. Well, screw up? You think it's a screw up? Let's call it another one of the 1,000 screw ups where they conveniently delete shit that's not befitting railroading Richard Allen. I'm not so certain anything was lost with respect to the marathon security camera DVR data. First off, the FBI was fully involved in the Flora arson fire investigation that murdered 4 young sisters in November of 2016. The FBI came on board in that arson murder investigation once it was discovered flammable liquid was poured in the stairway leading to the second floor of that home where the girls were sleeping. And that's still contentious. Okay, it's still contentious. Accelerant is not necessarily gasoline. The young girl's mother worked at the Flora Marathon gas station at the time of the murders. There's absolutely no doubt whatsoever the FBI pulled all of the Flora Marathon gas station camera DVR data on the case of that fire once the cause of that fire was determined. I have serious doubts about the FBI losing data from a security camera DVR. Even the FBI came out with the statement that that was not what happened. It's very possible they already had taken some or the security camera data from the Delphi Marathon gas station, which is less than 10 miles from Florida. They would have been looking at all the nearby gas stations for any suspicious activities relating to the Flora arson fire that murdered 4 young girls in Carroll County just 3 months prior to. No. Again, we're guessing here about details, but you got half right. Rich Nye says Kagan Klein admits that he created and used catfish social media profiles, Anthony Schatz and Emily Ann, using photos that were not him and misrepresenting his identity. He also admits that he obstructed justice by deleting social media apps from his devices. All right, so I'm not certain if Rayleigh was there, but the weekend before Abby stayed, Libby had a sleepover with gals like Kyla Brummett. Same weekend, I believe Liberty went with Kelsey and Bree geocaching at Eller's Pond. Becky Patty said she didn't know the girl that had the sleepover, so at first denied Liberty went, but realizes now that it's a fact. So perhaps Liberty lied about whose sleepover, or the family didn't pay attention or didn't want to know or didn't want to admit to knowing. Not sure. But at that sleepover, the little hostess, Kyla Brummett, introduced Liberty to Anthony Schatz. I have names. I just wasn't sure if you want them listed. Same girl that claimed someone looked in her window wearing a ski mask, then informed law enforcement, "Oh, I was scared. Liberty was talking to that dude at my sleepover." Law enforcement claimed to Keegan that they already knew and that Liberty was quite enamored with Anthony Schatz. Perhaps Liberty thought he was her Peter Pan. But sickening if law enforcement knew before the murders. Interesting that she chose Cupid just outside the box, thinking that L.E. told Keegan Kline they knew Liberty was enamored with Anthony Schatz. Kyla knew Keegan Kline. Kyla knew Anthony Schatz and introduced Liberty to Anthony Schatz. We've learned that Kelsey German created fake mail accounts that she used to talk to Liberty German on catfishing her own sister to have fun. Sick. I'm assuming Bree was involved since she's Kelsey's best friend forever. And hence Bree Wilbur guessing Liberty's password and deleting stuff. Why? And why the mean girl shit? You see, the community speaks. This is a Delphi local. I've just redacted her name. Kelsey wouldn't confirm it was Bree, but said it was a close friend that figured out Liberty's password. She followed up by saying it wasn't a big deal, and I was able to retrieve the info. What the hell? It's almost laughable. Yeah, it's so infuriating. You have to laugh so your head doesn't explode. So many girls, all the same age, all dolled up, makeup with cheerleaders, etc. Then after the murders, they're all dressed like slobs. Many turned gay. Others went to OnlyFans, sex trafficked, full of tattoos. What happened in that town? See, this right here is a resident of Delphi. Also, did you notice Nikki was Rayleigh's attorney? She told a source of mine that she's stressing because they're telling her stuff she doesn't remember saying. And we know that her mom was having her look at Facebook pics of POIs. She fingered Jimmy Duvall. Tara German's wife's ex. Remember, I've also shown to you receipts from Doug of Rayleigh's mom telling him that law enforcement in 2020, or maybe it was 2022, went to Rayleigh and tried to get her to agree that the young guy sketch was who she saw. When she refused to go along with it, they told her she was not a good witness. Rayleigh, please come on the channel and talk to Prof. Please come talk to me, Rayleigh. I want to know, did you point out Jimmy Duvall? Did law enforcement try to get you to agree that you saw the young guy sketch, even though you didn't? When the locals speak, you listen. Come on, Rayleigh. We love you here. And Alex sent me this. Okay. Alex says, Prof, I was able to fetch this. Kick username Anthony underscore shots. But pay attention to the email. Anthony Shots with a Z. Anthony Shots with a Z at Hotmail. Anthony Shots with a Z at Hotmail. One of the many accounts. Thank you, Faith. Faith Ross. Thank you, Faith Ross. Thank you for the super chat, Faith Ross. You see, I think there's more than one user of the Anthony Shots accounts, because you've got these accounts spread all over social media, almost every platform, all of the major platforms. I wonder how many users took on the identity Anthony Shots prior to these murders. Noe sent me this one. Noe says, the day they took Klein to the base to Grissom, he told me he was out on a medical visit for a health issue. I don't know if Miami County would have taken him there to the infirmary at the base instead of a local hospital, but after seeing this video and having spent the past 60 days around him, he was my cornhole partner, a game I invented to supplement cornhole. We used a table as a target instead. I conclude that he was there to and helped his dad and maybe a third person to stage the bodies where they were found. He openly admitted to me in the 600 block of the Miami County Jail in Peru, Indiana, that his dad used the Anthony Shots profile to meet the girls by the bridge. Well, it's interesting because what are we finding? What are we finding? We're finding that all of these people know each other, lived in close proximity, and appear to have been working together. This is Kagan sharing Austin Pope Joyce. What are the odds? And I've mentioned before with this particular screenshot, look at what they're trying to do. Remember, I've warned you before about phantoms, about pareidolia. And I said, don't look at phantoms in the woods where no one is. Well, isn't it odd that you have Austin Popejoy trying to get you to look at phantoms in the woods? And then you've got Kagan sharing that. I think they've all worked together since before the murders, during the murders, and after. Let's continue. Now we're going to move into some more serious. That was to give you sort of a litmus of some of the thoughts from the community. Now I'd like to go into this, kind of get onto a more serious track here. April 11th, 2022. April 11th. Police seek more info on Delphi teen girls' homicides. Search expands for social media profile interaction. Investigators working on the 2017 double homicide of 2 teenage girls in Delphi are asking the public for more help. According to the Indiana State Police, the Delphi double homicide task force working on searching for the killer or killers of Liberty German and Abigail Williams is searching for people who may have communicated with the profile Anthony Schatz on a social media application called Yellow or Yubo. Ah. Okay. So, did that say Snapchat or Instagram or Kick? No. Not Snapchat, not Instagram, not Kick, but Yubo. Very, 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 very interesting. Earlier this year, investigators asked people to come forward with information about the deaths of 13-year-old Williams and 14-year-old German who went missing February 13, 2017. While walking on the High Bridge Trail in Delphi, their bodies were found the next day. Despite a video and a voice recording of the alleged suspect, ISP Superintendent Douglas Carter has said they have been unable to get, quote, that final piece of the puzzle, close quotation, to move forward with the case. Dubbed as Tinder for teens, Yubo is a social media app which lets teenagers interact with one another. The app has more than 20 million users worldwide and was created by 3 French engineering students. Yubo allows teens to find new friends by swiping left or right to connect and live stream. To connect and live stream. To connect and live stream. The change of name and new safety features enables app users to communicate with whoever they want by simply swiping and chatting. The app is suitable for Apple and Android smartphones and is free to use. Currently, there's a minimum age limit of 13 on Yubo, and anyone under 17 who sets up profiles has to confirm they have the permission of a parent or guardian. Teens age 13 to 17 have their own community that's separate from adults who use the app. But that's now. That wasn't then. Where was Doug Carter when Allen was arrested? Police have been investigating the Anthony Shots profile on other social media apps. Yeah. Instagram, Snapchat, Kick, who knows what else. And now, Yubo. Which they have publicly stated has been used by Keegan Kline, a man who was arrested in Miami County for various offenses that include the possession of child pornography, child exploitation, child solicitation, and synthetic identity deception. Combination of fabricated credentials where the implied identity is not associated with the real person. Police want people who have communicated with the Anthony Shots Yubo profile to come forward. They also want to know when, how, and on which form of social media was used to communicate with Anthony Shots, and if anyone asked for a meeting or attempted to obtain a home address. Well, we now know because that was an MO of Anthony Shots' accounts. Investigators would also like to obtain all saved images and conversations with the Anthony Shots profile. Police have not established publicly a link between the Delphi homicides and Kline, despite a search warrant executed on Kline about 11 days after Williams and German's bodies were found. All right. I've said before how Yubo was notorious for problems with children. According to Wikipedia, between 2018 and 2023, there were 20 cases of child sexual abuse in Swedish courts alone, where the perpetrator and victim met through Yubo. There have been several cases of predatory behavior, grooming, child pornography, and exploitation of minors in relation to the Yubo app. As of 2019, Yubo entered a partnership with Yoti in February to use their age estimation technology to analyze faces to estimate how old users were because of the problem that Yubo was having with child predators. Now, I've shown you this before. I want to go back to it because I think it's relevant. This is from a video of Sunny Justice, in which I believe she hits on something extremely important. She says Ashley was talking with Sheena Cottrell, aka Sheena Dillon, and Nick Edwards about the murder tape. So all we have to do is look as far as a couple blocks away to realize that these people, Sheena Cottrell Jason Palladino's ex, lived at the time of the murders of Abby and Libby in the part of Peru just a few blocks away from Klein. If anyone really truly did their homework, they would find a lot more people in the area around, names that are consistent. Okay. I felt this was important to show you, she says. For anyone that understands that Keegan Klein's side of it, and then there's Garrett Kurt's side and Palladino's side and Ashley Garth's side, whatever, is that it's just like putting a puzzle piece together. Hey, Doug, maybe Sonny found it. What it is to me is I have Keegan Dunker, for instance, attached to Garrett. Garrett Kurtz attached to Ron Logan. The girls were found on Ron Logan's land. Well, we know the Kleins are attached to Ron Logan, and so is Brad Holder and Garrett Kurtz. They're all attached to Ron Logan, and so is Kathy Shank's daughter. Everyone's attached to Ron Logan, and the girls, Abby and Libby, their bodies are attached to Ron Logan's property as well. Are they not? So if Garrett Kurtz is talking about Sheena Cottrell, and she knew about the murder tape, her and Nick Edwards. Okay. And he's talking about Ashley, Sheena, and Nick Edwards discussing this murder tape of Abby and Libby, or a tape of their dead bodies, in my opinion. And everyone knows each other. I'm wondering what the connection is and why. I don't want to say people aren't talking, because we don't know what people have talked about in the alley or the FBI. We don't know at the end of the day. There could be a lot of people that have gone there, but their job is to have all the information to prosecute, and they're not going to sit there after 5 years and not without having done their homework and have their ducks in a row before they decide to prosecute. Well, she was hopelessly optimistic, right? But after listening to Doug Carter, they know certain things and they're just getting their ducks in a row, blah, 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 blah. But Jason Palladino connects to Sheena Cottrell. Sheena Cottrell is right down the road from Keegan Klein. It makes sense that Sheena and Jason Palladino, they knew about Keegan's Dropbox, and that the revenge sides comes to the other side of Delphi. You got Libby that's nude, covered with sticks. That was for a reason, obviously. It was for a reason. And you have someone that's into child pornography. And then you find Libby's body naked with sticks on top. And, you've been looking at Keegan's looking up about DNA, and searching the Marathon gas station. But it's plausible that Keegan Klein, because he's good with videos and making videos, that he was there filming, or maybe he knows who. Maybe Keegan goes over there, talks about it, and he's missing this part here. When you read the transcript, he's clearly a full-blown liar. But what is the something he's not saying? And to me, it's the people that use the Dropbox. Hence why people, like if two people are using phones and they can't tell who's using the phones, but they can tell they're two different conversations, two different phones pinging in the area. Again, look where Sheena Cottrell lives in Palladino. They're blocks away. Who knows? Maybe Palladino's with Keegan Klein, whatever, texting. Who knows? Also, maybe Jason Palladino and Keegan Klein, where Keegan was trading pictures for pot or other drugs. At the end of the day, to me, there's this connection that goes from the Palladino side and Garrett Kurtz side to the Keegan Klein side. And this is one of the best connections here, that this person is talking about murder tapes and Ashley and Sheena Cottrell and Nick Edwards. I think it's one of the closest connections to understanding that Jason Palladino, this would be revenge on Derek German, and say Jeffrey Wright, Jeff Reagan, whatever his name is, perhaps whatever, they're good druggy friends and the drug connections. And don't get me wrong, but to me, that Jason Palladino, if anyone knew about the Dropbox, it's probably going to be him and Garrett, because my head keeps going back to Klein sharing Pope Joy's post. And Keegan Dunker made a comment, happy birthday. Why isn't he on the friends list anymore? Probably got disappeared before we came into the case. Are you getting what she's getting towards here? Are you picking up what she was reaching, trying to put together? Allen was recently moved from White County Jail to a state-run facility, Wabash. Westville. Okay, Allen submitted a handwritten letter asking a Carroll County judge for a public defender. On Monday, court records say Andrew Baldwin from Franklin, Indiana, and Brad Rozzi of Logansport were added as attorneys. Rozzi will be the lead attorney and Baldwin will be co-counsel. Although Allen was arrested, the probable cause affidavit was sealed. A hearing was set for November 22nd to determine if the document will be made public. Search of Wabash River linked to Delphi investigation, source says. Police source also confirms that the recent 5-week state police search of the Wabash River was connected to the Delphi investigation. Let's read it again, Prof, because you're not fucking crazy. Police source confirms the recent 5-week state police search of the Wabash River in Peru was connected to the Delphi investigation. It was initiated after Keegan Kine told police they would find a cell phone and a weapon, meaning knife, in the river. The police source tells I-Team 8. Klein, a figure linked to the Delphi murders who has not been charged in the case, revealed that information while being questioned about the deaths of Libby and Abby. The evidence was never found. And Klein is known for lying. There's that word again. Well, let me give you my opinion. And you guys should already know this because I did a video called, what did I call it? Tony Klein and the Wabash River Search. Here's my opinion. They searched the wrong fucking spot. You see this? This, where you see the red dot, this is where we believe Keegan threw the knife and the phone. The path starts at his house. So on the left, the white dot is pinned at Keegan and Tony's house in Peru on Canal Street. You'll see that it's a mere 1-minute drive to the Wabash River on the Wayne Street Bridge, where we have indication that he likely threw that knife, which means he lied about which bridge, which is why that search was not fruitful. Remember, they searched the other bridge across town. If you would like more information on why we have been led to believe that this is the spot that was actually relevant, go look for my video that's called Tony Klein and the Wayne Street Bridge, the Wabash River Search. Here's a whole backstory to it. But my opinion, X marks the spot. Now get on it, ISP, FBI. You can lead the horse to water, can't make him drink. Speaking of unauthorized truth, there are Anthony Shots email accounts at Hotmail, Outlook, Gmail, Yellow, Kick, Snapchat, Facebook, and Instagram. But why does no one talk about the Anthony Shots email account at a privately owned email domain, anthonyshots@sultrydvds.com? Who controlled that account? Could it be the second simultaneous user of the account that's mentioned in the transcripts? Who was that? Surely this is significant, right? Now, we got another banger. Just a moment. Now, I know you will, anyone familiar with me, you'll be familiar with all of the absolute insanity that I've been subjected to in the past 2 years since coming on this case after the arrest of Richard Allen. Multiple doxing incidents, numerous death threats, exposure of my children, my family, my parents, my dead brother, all of the harassment. What's funny, because there's someone else who shared this with me, and I thought it was incredible, because I thought, what are the odds? But when I see sites all day long covering this case, engaging in a three-ring circus behavior, making huge profits off this tragedy, slandering people, defaming their character, making accusations without a shred of evidence or worse, it saddens me and disheartens me. Recently, I've received anonymous messages threatening me after the video I posted about Tony and Keegan Klein, despite never once stating they were involved, nor have I ever made any direct accusations in any of my videos. And I've received other inappropriate messages after videos I've only posted in the past few months, the likes of which I won't discuss here. It makes me wonder who's sending these emails. I have better things to do with my time than subject myself to this sort of nonsense. I hope the families get their day in court and justice is served. So this is someone saying that, although they had done all kind of talking about the case. Okay, get the point of this circle here. They had done all kind of talking about this case, never once received problems or threats. And so I asked, what was it that led to the threats? Posting a video about Tony and Keegan Klein. On November 4th, Brad Weber testified he had been in Arizona returned to Delphi on February 12th. Usually left work at 2:30, but he came up with the story that he left early on February 13th, went straight home, claimed he took a nap. Police knocked on his door at 5, asking about the missing girls. He went back to sleep. He had 35 ATMs he maintained, typically after work, but not on February 13th for some reason, even though he'd been away in Arizona. 9 times out of 10, he drove his Subaru, but that day he drove his white van. Police searched his house on February 19th. Andy Baldwin moved to submit a photo from 219 into evidence. It was admitted over state's objection, which means it's going into the appeal. Photo was given to the juror. The jurors became animated, talking amongst each other when they received the photo. He was asked if he had previously had problems with trespassers. The word sticks was overheard by someone in the courtroom because it was pictures of sticks in his garage. Holman was visibly frustrated by the end of Weber's testimony. Yeah, because the house of cards was falling apart. Listen, I would be willing to bet that he did leave work at 2:30 as usual, because we now know he didn't arrive home till 2:45. And what was he doing in Arizona? What part of Arizona did he visit? Did he drive, fly, take a bus? How did he get back? Why does he claim he was visiting there? The photos was of sticks in his garage, correct? Yep. One wonders what in particular would lead to shock amongst the jurors. Well, maybe spelling out KKK or something like that. I don't know. Last week, his timeline changed from previous statements. Whoa, and now we know it's changed again because we have now confirmation. Remember, I showed it to you. Let's just show the people, Prof. Show the fucking people. Okay, I will. I will show the people. Let's show the people. That's right. That's Mr. Weber at 2:45 p.m. And as I've mentioned, this is the FBI saying that the very first ping, the initial ping, read the third bullet point here from the top. On February 13, Weber's phone pings to parents' address overlooking the crime scene. Initially, the first one at 2:50, and repeatedly pings around the property until 11:55 p.m. So last week, his timeline changed from his previous statements, and this was in November, and now we know it's changed again. And what did make Holman all mad at the end? Are federal informants offered different, more better protection than those working for state, local LE? He appears to be married to someone who had a Westfall last name at one time. So was he an Odinist or not? Ever? And did those sticks spell out KKK in his garage? You see, this is a complicated case. The state tried to make this a very simple case. Let's remove this and get sanity. Okay, let's hit the reset button. The state of Indiana has tried to make this into a very simple case. In this way, Richard Allen was sexually frustrated and depressed and drunk. He went out there that day, decided he was spontaneously going to sexually assault 2 little girls. Simple as that. Very simple. Very simple. Horny. Did Kelsey have contact with the killer that night? Okay, folks, you know what this is about. Babs McDonald asked Keegan Anthony Klein whether or not he had used the Anthony Shots profile to contact Kelsey German on the night of the murders. Get ready for it. The first time I read that, I just assumed she had simply misspoken and said Kelsey when she meant Libby. But then I realized that cannot be. She specified on the night of the 13th of February, 2017. The girls were murdered that afternoon. If there was indeed a last contact with Libby from the Anthony Shots account on that day, it must have happened before them, in the morning or the afternoon. Perhaps regarding meeting at the bridge. Not that night when the girls were dead. Note the exchange below. First, Babs repeatedly asks about contact from the Anthony Shots account to Libby, using only her Christian name. Several questions established. Keegan claims no recollection of communication with Libby from the Anthony Shots account. Soon after, she asked Kelsey German once, using both her Christian and surname, and specifying the night of the 13th. There's no way she did all that by accident, as precise as she is. She meant every word. Babs, that you created this fake profile, Anthony Shots, is that correct? Yeah. So Anthony Shots was communicating with Libby? That's what they said. Was that you? That's what they said. Was that you? No, not that I remember, but that's what they're saying. So you may have been communicating with Libby, but maybe not. Right. So do you remember the night of the 13th? The night the girls went missing. Do you remember communicating with Kelsey German? No, I don't. Has anybody else had access to this Anthony Shots login? Oh, so sorry. I prematurely flipped the page. So does Barbara know that there was contact that night between Kelsey and the Anthony Shots account? Which way did it go? Did Kelsey manage to open Libby's social media account and ask recent contacts if they had seen Libby? What the fuck? Did the Anthony Shots account send Kelsey a cryptic or taunting message? Whichever way it went, was that the first and only contact between Kelsey and the Anthony Shots account? I think that one's worth reading over for you. Did Kelsey manage to open Libby's social media account and ask recent contacts if they had seen Libby? Did the Anthony Shots account send Kelsey a cryptic or taunting message? Whichever way it went, was that the first and only contact between Kelsey and the Anthony Shots account? what we know. Keegan denies messaging with Kelsey. Law enforcement has told him the Anthony Schatz profile was the last to communicate with Libby, but he also denies knowledge of that through his deflection to law enforcement telling him so. He does admit to making the profile and talking to minors on it. He denies trying to meet up with the minors, though, that he's communicated with. Instead, it appears law enforcement just leaked that Kelsey communicated with Anthony Schatz on February 13th. But in my opinion, Keegan's denial of communicating with her is not deceptive. It appears, as many of us have speculated, that Keegan is not always the person behind the profile he created. Based on his answers, he either shared the password or his passwords were compromised without his knowledge by someone aware of his activities. IPs can be masked, and MAC addresses can be spoofed as easy as a Facebook profile if you are motivated. So it seems like someone was communicating with Libby and Kelsey as Anthony Schatz, but it was not Keegan Kline. I do not know the answers to the following questions, but I would like to. Did Anthony Schatz communicate with Kelsey directly on her own ID, or did he communicate with Kelsey under Libby's ID or anyone else's? What time were the messages sent? What device? From where? Which IP address? What was the content of those messages? Again, did Anthony Schatz communicate with Kelsey directly on her own ID, or did he communicate with Kelsey under Libby's ID or someone else's? What time were the messages sent? What device? From what IP address? What was the content of the messages? Content, times, locations, profile ID, and MAC addresses are all critical information to determine the sequence of events and the intent and purposes of the parties at question. Kelsey, Keegan, Liberty, Anthony Schatz, Bree Wilbur, who else knows? This is data that would be found in a cyber forensics report. It has been discussed what the possible change was between the February and April 2019 pressers, and it is a common theory the digital forensics report gave law enforcement a better picture of the events, creating a change in strategy. Some even like to think the young bridge guy is the model used for the Anthony Schatz profile. See, here's where we get back into trying to rationalize the irrational. Why was the FBI kicked off of this case? Becky has said that Kelsey was getting the devices together at the house to provide law enforcement, although I cannot remember day or time. Did Kelsey send messages at that time? Was anything deleted or modified? The content of these messages and any other data within would also be included in a forensics report. We often question what Keegan did with the phone before turning it over, but we ignore the question of what Kelsey did with the devices before turning them over. The result of that forensics report could actually cast shade or clarity on Kelsey. In addition, Mike Patty's comments about her phone, quote, pinging all over town, close quotation, after the phone had been gone to voicemail for hours comes to mind. Is it a coincidence this happened the night of the 13th after the official search had been called off, with Mike Patty remaining through the wee hours to search with his canoe? We can speculate, but all of the actual data would be in the same cyber forensic report that would be applicable in identifying communication between Kelsey and Anthony Schatz. Assuming law enforcement tipped Barbara McDonald off about Kelsey messaging Anthony Schatz and the question was intentional, then why? It's either for Keegan Kline, the public, or the killers. Keegan Kline wasn't fazed, so he has likely already been asked that question tens of times by law enforcement interrogators. So it's for us, or the BG, or the missing piece. Has Kelsey responded to the mention of her name and allegations that she communicated with Anthony Schatz? If they had fully cleared her, they would have prepped her to respond. Isn't Babs great friends with Becky? Didn't she promote this show? She's very quick to issue statements on YouTube or Gray Hughes or Twitter, etc. Kelsey's silence tells me she was caught off guard. She was not prepared to clarify or explain why she did not mention it before. If law enforcement told her not to say it, why wouldn't she just say that? She cannot because they didn't. Why would they want to catch Kelsey off guard, though? Why would they want to cause stress and more trauma to a victim? If Bridge Guy feels cornered, he may lash out and escalate, putting people who can hurt him with testimony at risk. Law enforcement would have prepped her and warned her to protect her. They would not blindside her. At the least, why would Barbara McDonald do that? Why would she need to be prepared if she was simply hiding this detail until law enforcement said something? I think that would be some relief for her, and she'd want to tell everyone why she deceived them. The silence right now is so loud. I just hear, "You want to know what we know." And then I hear the specific questions she asked Carter in his friendly living room interview. Everyone's interpretation of the comments regarding family is different, but Carter stated the vast majority of the family has been ruled out. I interpret that as some family remains uncleared and the pool is small. Leaving Kelsey out of the loop would preserve the intended element of surprise. Seems to make more sense than leaving her out of the loop to protect her. Kelsey's name drop was for shade. Kelsey has not said she messaged anyone on Libby's behalf at any point in the last 5 years. Kelsey denied knowledge, at least publicly, of relationships in Libby's life, cyber or otherwise. And she denied the possibility of catfishing. She was the last to see Libby alive. She promoted this show, but I'm hearing crickets. She possibly tampered with evidence and interfered with an investigation and possibly pretended to be Libby to a catfish profile or vice versa. The phone turning off and on is also sketchy. Yeah, and I would say also the headphone jack being plugged in and out. Laugh out loud at anyone who believes network media stars and ISP superintendents are close friends with poor rural Indiana double homicide suspects. Stay sleuthing. Well, there sure is a lot to unpack here. Wow. Everyone seems to assume that this was the Anthony Schatz account that possibly communicated with Kelsey. If Keegan Kline can make one fake account, he can make a dozen of them. We know with one of his accounts, he was pretending to be a female. Very unlikely he communicated a taunting message to Kelsey that evening. He may have communicated with her for his own warped personal amusement, but it would almost certainly not have been a sinister or a taunting message. Right, or someone else could have been communicating with her. See, that's the thing about these catfish accounts. You don't know who it is. So we had an Anthony Schatz account or 2 or 3 or 10. We had Kelsey and Bree and these other girls and Libby with various fake accounts. So you have all these various fake accounts communicating with each other. Who knows who was behind those accounts? You can't say Keegan Kline or Anthony Schatz and assume Keegan Kline. You can't say any account and assume Kelsey German or Bree Wilbur or anyone else. These accounts were fucking with each other. Everybody hiding behind a fake account. It's the same MO that the troll farm does to this very day. It's a point that Noe makes often. It's all the catfishing, chomo file shit. Fake accounts. So at the moment that Kelsey was messaging the Anthony Schatz account on that night of the 13th at the police station, from which account? And who was behind that Anthony Schatz account at that very moment? I showed up to meet her, but she never showed. Marty 5151, 3 years ago. I keep thinking about how Kelsey messaged Anthony Schatz the night of 2/13/17 and how he said he tried to meet up with Libby, but she never showed. Listen, before I continue, it's as if we never think when we think. There's two parts to that statement, right? There's two parts. The first part of that sentence is, I tried to meet up with her. And we're going to see more of that later. Second part of that sentence, and she never showed. Which would imply that who's ever behind that account saying that was there waiting for them. Is that not a confession of sorts? I tried to meet up with her. That's part one. And she didn't show. That's part two. Who was it? Wouldn't this mean Keegan is putting himself at the bridge on the day the girls were murdered? Or whoever is behind that Anthony Schatz account at that moment? Or is he lying and he didn't attempt to meet her? You're going to find out momentarily. We're getting there. Be patient with the prof. Either way, to me, it seems he knew something already. Thoughts? I think it was a friend of Libby who Anthony Schatz said that to a day or two later. Miss Kelsey shares a post on 9/25/22. ISP was asking for anyone who talked to the profile Anthony Schatz. So that's how the public came to know about the profile. So maybe you could sit back and watch before you put out misinformation and try to tell the family how they should act. The Anthony Schatz profile is the most recent release from law enforcement. They're still looking for anyone who ever had contact with the account on a social media platform. I wish. But down here, Rogue is dropping these bombs. Rogue drops this bomb. He says, Kelsey, how would that help law enforcement find your sister's killer? I'm very confused on that. Law enforcement knows the user and creator of Anthony Schott's account was Keegan Klein, and he's already in jail for CSAM. What is law enforcement trying to nail down? Good job, Rogue, Your Majesty. Good point, Rogue.
I'm not sure why people are so upset about it. I've said many times that there are things I'm still remembering to this day. As I remember them, law enforcement is made aware immediately. I contacted several people that I found Libby had been in contact with the evening of the February 13th as we were sitting in the police station. I was trying to get as much information as I could to figure out where the girls were. Anthony Shots ended up being one of the accounts I messaged. Law enforcement has the details of that conversation, but just know that the short discussion I had with the account threw up no red flags and gave no indication that the account knew anything of Libby and Abby's whereabouts. It was a 5-minute conversation. I never talked to the account again and didn't think about it until years later. Not only do I now have to live with the fact that I communicated with an account that could possibly be connected to my sister's death, as if that's not dramatic enough, I now have to watch groups dissect my intentions and twist my every word in a million directions. No matter what I say, someone will always have something negative to say about it. I hope these people have the day they deserve. I hope today is the day. I hope this is over soon. I hope someday the true crime community will learn that the way family members of murder victims are treated is horrendous and not okay.
And a little something better for y'all. This is even more alarming. Becky confirmed Kelsey reached out to everyone that had been in contact with Liberty to see if anyone knew where they were. She confirms, but he responded, but nothing was off. Becky, Marsha, and Patty. Good morning. Do you know Shots responded to Kelsey? Yes. Yes. Read it. Yes. The profile responded it wasn't anything to throw up red flags concerning Libby at that time. Why is that a talking point? Excuse me. Can someone throw up some red flags in the chat so I can put some on the screen right now? So we got Gamma and Miss Kelsey both using like the same seed phrase. No red flags. Thank you, Amy. No red flags. No red flags. No red flags. And why were we deleting shit? Okay, here's the thing. Your sister's dead. Let me remove this from it. Okay. We have 2 murder victims. Why are messages, accounts, friend connections, and other things being deleted when you have 2 dead girls? At a minimum, that's inappropriate. Completely inappropriate. But let's get into something. Because you know I love pointing out facts with evidence. You are all aware that Jerry Holman and Nick McClellan and the others have been making these PR rounds. Mr. Cicero. So they've been so aggressively making these PR rounds. I think in the excitement to get out their talking points, they have neglected to maintain calmness of mind. Okay. For instance, time to thank you for the memberships to our viewers, Jake Brooks. Thank you very much. So I'm going to focus on Jerry Holman because, listen, let me bring it down again. I can never get these moments aligned. Okay, listen. I've said before, for all of these reasons we've just been through the past 30 minutes, this is why I've consistently said, why were the family's phones not extracted and handed over to the defense in totality? This is why it would have been important to have Kelsey's phones, Bree Wilbur's phones, Mike Patty's phones, Becky Patty's phones, any other phones. But back to what I was getting at. Jerry Holman. We're going to focus on Jerry Holman because I don't understand if he didn't realize in his excitement or preoccupation with getting out there and pushing these narrative points. I don't know if he didn't realize what he was doing or he made a decision at the end to give up this piece of information, but you need to hear this. Okay, so we're going to go through some sections here. Okay, so right here is a section from his hidden true crime visit. One thing you mentioned is why they were there. They were dropped off because they either wanted to enjoy a seasonably warm day, or you mentioned they might have wanted to meet somebody there. What did you mean by that? And here he says, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation about Keegan Kline and the Anthony Schatz account. But we know that Anthony Schatz was communicating with Libby and some of her friends. We don't know for sure if that's why they were going out there or not. Unfortunately, with Snapchat and Kik and Musical.ly and some of those apps that people use to communicate, we can tell people are communicating, but sometimes we can't tell the content. But it wouldn't surprise me if maybe they thought somebody was going to be out there, or maybe a friend or something like that. So that's what I meant by that. What kind of word salad is that, Holman? Do you think it could have been Keegan? Do you think maybe they were perhaps wanting to meet Keegan or a cute boy at the trail? Possibly that Anthony Schatz they thought might be out there, who obviously was a fake persona that Keegan and who else was using. I don't think Keegan was out there. I mean, again, evidence indicates that he was not there for that day and time. So if there's evidence that would have proved that, then he would be in prison for that as well. I mean, obviously, he's in prison for being the child predator that he is, but we would not withhold that. If we had probable cause to believe that he was involved in this, then we would definitely file charges. And if anything comes up that he was, then we would pursue that. Are you going to hold your word to that? Can we hold you to your word on that?
We would write a report up, give it to the prosecutor, and he would determine whether or not that would be the case. Okay? Fair use here. Fair use for the murder shits. Fair use on the murder shits. One name that the public found out about was Keegan Kline. Can you talk a little about him? Says Murder Shits. And here's Holman. Sure. I can't remember exactly how we got the tip, but I know it came through our Indiana Crimes Against Children. They started working that case as somebody who was a child predator and was soliciting young girls to meet up with them and get pictures. At some point, we found out that he was communicating with Libby and some of her friends. What we learned about Keegan is that he was a pathological liar. There they go again with the we're gonna flush Keegan down the toilet and call him a liar at every turn. He was using a fake persona named Anthony Schatz to lure these girls in, and we investigated him very thoroughly. We spent countless hours, manpower, and resources on him. And at the end of the day, we just were not able to establish probable cause in this case. Yeah, that's the truth, right? That's what you're lacking. It's not that he wasn't involved. It's that you couldn't establish probable cause. Do I think he was communicating with the girls and that may be one of the reasons why they showed up on the bridge? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that he's responsible for murdering them. We've exhausted every investigative technique we could, and we just couldn't establish that probable cause that he's involved. And I think he's kind of, to get jailhouse cred or whatever, took his opportunity and tried to get his 15 minutes of fame by doing some interviews and saying things that weren't necessarily true. But that's my take on Keegan Kline. I think other people might have a different perception of that. Yeah. You think? You think? Murder Shit says, so things like the red Jeep that he traveled to the crime scene in, that you guys were not able to find on any footage. Like, you have to go where the evidence is. Because he never said red Jeep, you dumbass. Right. And we did find the red Jeep. And we had it for a while and tested it, didn't find any evidence indicating that was used because he didn't say he was in a red Jeep that day. But yeah, the red Jeep was not on the Harvest Store video. No, he said he was in a car. The indication was he would have drove right past it. We went and picked him up from the jail and said, hey, how'd you get there? And he took us right past. Listen, are you fucking listening? I always feel like you're not listening. Listen to what he's revealing happened. They went pick up Keegan. Okay, they went pick him up. And he took us right past Hoosier Harvest Store. And there was no red Jeep on that video because he didn't say he was in a red Jeep, you idiot. So we could prove a lot of his lies. We can prove that he was communicating with the girls, and we could definitely prove that he lied to us on multiple times. Yeah, but you're not getting it. You're not getting it. So basically, you're admitting that he said he was in Delphi that day, that he said he went to the cemetery, and he passed the Harvest Store on the way to the cemetery. That's what you're revealing, Holman. Okay, but you're confusing things by inserting that red Jeep when there's no red Jeep. Because he told everyone else in the facility and his boyfriend that he was in a car. So go back to that footage and look for the car he was in. Anyhow, here's where it gets really, really, really good. Really, 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 really good. Okay. This is from the puke-worthy Carroll County Comet article, Holman, we were never going to give up, by whatever her name is, Amy McCurdy or something like that.
McCarty. But he does admit that if they could build a case on Keegan or Tony, that they would. So that means it's still an open book. It's open-ended. So we need to put this pressure in this direction. Anyway, back to this. Anthony Schatz. Law enforcement theorized that Abby and Libby were on the High Bridge on February 13th, 2017, planning to meet a young man whose Snapchat profile name was Anthony Schatz. Look at what I've highlighted. Through the investigation, we know that the girls were communicating through Snapchat with the Anthony Schatz account using Liberty's phone, Holman said. We have reasonable belief that they thought they were going to meet Anthony Schatz. Let's read that again. Through the investigation, we know that the girls were communicating through Snapchat with the Anthony Schatz account using Liberty's phone, Holman said. We have reasonable belief that they thought they were going to meet Anthony Schatz. So can we put it in stone now? Can we put it in stone now and stop pretending it's a maybe and it's a kinda and it's a possibly? They were going to meet Anthony Schatz. And you know I don't like Holman. But this is from Holman. We have reasonable belief that they thought they were going to meet Anthony Schatz. Well, doesn't that corroborate the other statement that Anthony Schatz said he was supposed to meet those girls and they didn't show up? And then he drops another major fucking bombshell, and this is to those Reddit users I was lambasting earlier. We have no evidence indicating Richard Allen was connected with the Anthony Schatz profile at this time. Say it again, Holman. We have no evidence indicating Richard Allen was connected with the Anthony Schatz profile at this time. So what I've said this before, but so what we're supposed to believe is that they were the victims of two child predators that day coincidentally. That's a nexus, right? So child predator Anthony Schatz lured them out there, and that's what they were going to do. They thought they were going to meet with Anthony Schatz. They were lured out there by a child predator, Anthony Schatz. They went into the trap that Anthony Schatz had set. And you want me to believe that coincidentally, by chance, Richard Allen also happens to be out there and decides to become a child predator at that moment, and against all odds of probability, does a double child predator move on those girls and predates them on top of a secondary predation, or he becomes a secondary predator on top of a primary predation of Anthony Schatz, arranging for them to be there? It's getting to the, see, this is where the suspension of disbelief, it doesn't work. There's no chance in hell that two separate child predators accidentally coincide in space and time with Abby and Libby. Holman said the investigation has also shown that Keegan Klein, a Miami County man who catfished Abby and Libby using the Anthony Schatz profile, was not involved in the killing of Abby and Libby. We knew he was connected to the Anthony Schatz account, says Holman, and we know the Anthony Schatz account communicated with Libby, Abby, and their friends using the fake profile. That's another bomb drop. That's another bomb drop. Sorry. That's another bomb drop. When have you heard confirmation before from Indiana State Police that Anthony Schatz's account was communicating with Libby, Abby,
and their friends. Huh? Okay? This is why it's important that we take a close look at everything. Anthony Schatz communicated with Libby, Abby, and their friends using the fake profile. Holman said, "We investigated it thoroughly and spent countless hours and resources on that. We were never able to establish probable cause or any connection that Keegan Kline was involved in this case." Okay, so what he's admitting, they could never establish probable cause. Not that there's no connection, not that there's not this kind of thing, not that there's not tentacles, not that there's not some other user of the Anthony Schatz account. That all the admission is we could not establish probable cause on Keegan Kline. Okay, which is a whole issue. They had a good time, says Old Heart 7780. Listen to the Murder Shit's latest podcast regarding the third day of last week's testimony. Go to the 1 hour, 10 minute, 25-second mark and listen for Murder Shit's description of what Keegan Kline said about the day 2 kids were slaughtered in Delphi. They had a good time. They is not Keegan Kline talking about both he and his dad having a good time. They had a good time. That's what Keegan Kline, who stated he waited in the vehicle for 2 hours at the back of the cemetery. Remember I told you Noe's story about what the boyfriend and the other friends in jail said in Wabash? Okay, what they said is Keegan Kline said he drove his dad to the cemetery. He waited in the car. His dad went down to the water. And that when his dad came back, he was bloody and said, "We had a good time." Or "We had fun." Okay, well, this is Old Heart saying, Keegan Kline says he waited in the vehicle for 2 hours at the back of the cemetery. Said his dad told him when he got back to their vehicle that was parked at the back of the old Delphi cemetery covered in blood. They had a good time. So why does the word "they" matter? It matters because Keegan Kline told Detective Vito and Carroll County Prosecutor Nick McClellan at the August 18, 2022 meeting at Grissom that his dad said they had a good time before any of us knew anything whatsoever about Richard Allen. That "they" implies that there was someone else back there at the murder scene. They had a good time. That's what Keegan Kline told law enforcement. That's some incredibly inflammatory, detailed description of what Keegan Kline told law enforcement. And let's keep in mind, Keegan Kline implicated himself in the murders of Libby and Abby on August 18th, 2022. The first question Vito and McClellan are going to ask Keegan Kline, who is they? Who do you think is they? I'm a fairly educated man. I'm going to guess it's none other than Richard Allen. Why do I guess it's Richard Allen? The fire pits, that's why. Well, see, this is where, once again, like I always say, what do these Redditors do? They always assume in the wrong direction. Okay. Remember, we just read Holman admit there's no connection to Anthony Schatz with Richard Allen. And I've used logic at the beginning of the show tonight to say there's no way Richard Allen was involved in this situation with the Klines, because had Richard Allen had at all been tied to the Klines in any way whatsoever, this situation in any way whatsoever, it would have been used at his trial against him, and it was not. So the fatal error that Mr. Oldhart is using here, or making, is that he's putting Richard Allen in that third-party seat, where he should be putting probably Ron Logan or Brad Holder or someone of that nature. All right. Let's move on from Old Heart. This is where it's going to get difficult. Okay. Now this is, pardon me, I have to belch. There it went. This is Keegan Kline's statement.
on August 19th of 2020. Okay, August 19, 2020, from a videotaped interrogation. Now we're gonna skip way because oh my god, dude. The first half of this document is some of the most vulgar, disgusting, uh, just shocking shit you'd ever heard. So we don't want to talk about that. Okay, we're gonna skip all the vulgarity, but let's see. We're gonna head about approximately. Let's go to page 112. Vegas. Let me pause for a moment. All right. Remember earlier I mentioned Arizona. Okay. My conjecture, my working theory right now. We got major connections in this case to Arizona and Las Vegas. Why? Why? Why do we have major connections to Arizona and Las Vegas? Could it be human trafficking? Both of those are close to the border. Drugs, I don't know. Both of those are close to the border, right? Remember Texas. So let's do this. Border states. Okay, let's talk about the border. That's the hot topic in politics at the moment for good reason, right? Good reason. Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about if you were trying to traffic across the southern border. All right? What would you want to be? I mean, you can't traffic directly to Indianapolis from the border, right? I mean, unless you're doing flights. Okay, so if you're taking flights, say from Florida to Indianapolis, if you're doing flights, you can pick up whatever you're getting in Miami or wherever it may be through Cuba. Say if you're trafficking from Florida, you'd probably fly. But if you're trafficking across the border, you're going to do Texas, Arizona. Why are we connected to Las Vegas? Anyway, this is the point of this. I'm getting off topic here. Vegas. So you went to Vegas and that new phone you found and your iPhone 5 that you had. So those searches would have been yours because no one else would have had those. Yeah, I'm guessing, he says. All right. How often would you probably commit a day when you were doing it? I have no clue. I mean, there was girls I would talk to. I don't know. Like literally, you wake up in the morning, first thing you do is check your phone. Probably, I don't know. Last thing at night before going to bed, first thing when you get up type thing. What do you normally do when you get up? I don't know. That was 3 years ago. Probably. I mean, you help me understand this because we're past the dirt thing in the 2018. These new devices that only you have access to. I mean, I'm looking at this, so I think we can be safe to say that Dirk didn't search those things. Yeah. So see, this is where Keegan lies. These little things. All right. But let's look at this. Who all went to Vegas? Me and my dad. Just me and my dad. Am I on the right page for you? 115? Yeah. Just me and my dad. And you had that planned? Yeah, we had it planned for almost a year. You didn't meet anybody? No. Well, we did someone, one of his friends, just like a friend he knew. Actually, a Peru police department. I think he was chief for a little while back in the day. What's his name? I don't know. I don't even know. That was my dad's friend. I'm not sure. And did you and your dad share a room in Vegas? Yeah. Okay. 116. Okay. Um. Okay. And the other kick messages and things like that, escort service that you were talking to on there. Um. At one point, she said 250, and you're like a little much. I don't even remember that, but probably did because I mean we're talking about going to the bunny ranch, so probably did. Which is, I mean, it's legal out there, right? So anyway, what else about that vacation stood out? Okay, sightseeing and stuff like that. Gambling. You didn't go to the bunny ranch? No. Why did you go there? Why didn't you go there? It was too far. It's pretty far outside of Vegas. It's super expensive, way too expensive. It was like 400 for an hour. Yeah, I could see that being a lot. I mean, what would be the price point you would have been happy with? I don't know. What about your dad? What price range? Probably 150 or something like that. 150? And what would you expect out for 150 bucks? Good question. What do you expect for 150? Is that Doug Carter asking? I don't know. Probably head, probably blowjob for 150. Yeah. What about your dad? What would he think? What would he want? Probably the same. Oh my God. Could you imagine? Could you? Could you imagine, ladies? Kagan Klein, 150 bucks. Okay, well, let's moving right along. Trying to get to the meat and potatoes. Okay, sorry. So my point is about Vegas. Okay, I'm sorry. I get a little distracted. Oh, okay. Okay. It's going to get good. Just a moment. Okay. Here we go. Page 125 is my goal. Okay, so we need to clarify, and just as in the child pornography and solicitation exploitation, that you were honest, like you said, I mean, you were just nervous with the anxiety of getting caught, the Delphi investigation. We found things you weren't honest about either. What do you mean? And I'm going into that because we need to discuss it, okay? You told investigators, I know you say you don't remember a girl that you ever talked to, but I know you remember Liberty German. Right. And you talked to her and you admitted talking to her. I don't think I ever did, though. I think I talked to one of her friends like I told them. You admitted you talked to her for a few hours at a sleepover, and then you blocked her because she was annoying. Remember that? Yeah, you're right. So again, in going through with a fine-tooth comb, that's not what happened. And I think you wanted to be truthful, and it was hard for you because you were scared. I mean, it's a double homicide investigation.
Yeah, I get it. Right. I get that. But here's where you are, and you have to be honest about it because now we have all the information. All right. I'm telling you right now, and you can say you don't remember, but I'm telling you for a fact that you did not just talk to them during a sleepover. Okay. I'm telling you for a fact, you said, I didn't exchange any pictures with them. You said I didn't exchange any pictures with them. I don't think I ever did. I'm telling you that's a fact you did. Okay. Because the Anthony Shots account persona, that's a fake account. Right. You admitted to to communicated with Liberty German on Snapchat, on Instagram. And like I said, it was not just for a couple hours. Okay. So we need to revisit that. Right. And we need to clarify that because right now, what we have and that we can officially go with is you saying that, but we know for a fact it was a lie. Okay. That's what we know right now because we have this data, and again, I made this comment from the beginning. Snapchat, right? It deletes, it doesn't, okay? So when you think that, how did you meet Liberty German? You didn't meet in person, but how did you? I don't know. Again, literally, I don't know. And again, it had to be on Instagram or something. Okay, it was on Instagram. Yeah. And again, you can't tell me you don't know because you have to know because this needs to be clarified. This can't be something that's left okay because we need to go through the records. It was so long ago, but again, like I said, right. And she added you on Instagram. When was that, you'd say? I literally have no clue. I don't remember talking to her really. I don't even know who she really was until after I saw that on the news. And I was like, oh, wow, that name. Like I remembered that name. Okay. And again, that's a lie too, because we know for a fact that when you were in Vegas, that on your device, you were searching about the Delphi investigation. Yeah, because that's like right by okay, that's someone getting killed out there. But it's not just, it be like, what the fuck? No, it's not just something you saw in the news. Yeah, okay. So, it's the news article that you looked at on Safari. Tips pour in after the suspect identified in Delphi double homicide. New details in Delphi killings to be released. The audio clip. You remember that audio clip? Right. How many times would you say you've listened to it? Oh, I don't know. Probably a few. I'm not sure. A few as in like one or two? I don't know. I'm trying to hear the guy's voice, see what he said. I don't know. Probably 5 or 6. I don't know. 6? It really wasn't that wrong. 6 times. Right. Another article, information sought investigation into the deaths of Liberty German and Abigail Williams. It was a lot of you saying that it was a party weekend, but nothing fun in that. That's not what your phone says. It's not like what your search history says. Because I'm searching about people dying. Not just people dying, a person you literally talked to. Yeah, but I didn't realize that at the time. That's not who I was talking. How do you not? Because I don't think, like I said, I talked to a ton of people. Okay. And then like once I realized it, like I was like, whoa, what the F? When would you say you realized that it was that Liberty German girl you were talking to was killed? I don't know. A little bit probably after probably happening. Probably after it happened and I saw like her face and saw her name then. Okay. And then you told investigators you had never talked to anybody. Yeah, I don't remember talking to her. I remember talking to one of her friends, I thought. You said you remembered talking to her. You just said it. Well, that's what I remember her being there, like with her friend, but I don't remember ever talking to her. That's not what you just said. I said, no, Keegan, you said, I'm not here to argue with you, okay? I'm not here to lie to you either. Okay, well, I'm not here to lie to you either. But I'm telling you what you told investigators was you talked to her the night of the sleepover. This was 3 years ago. I don't remember everything I told them. You know what I mean? There's no way. And again, why would I think about that? That was the most traumatic experience of my life. And telling me that, I bet it was. I killed people. So why would I ever think about that? Because it was a traumatic experience. Why would I want to revisit? Okay, them telling me that. Then why lie? Them telling me I failed a polygraph. Then why lie to an investigator about it? Okay, we're not 3 years into it or away from it now. We're 2 weeks after it happened, right? Why did you tell them that you only talked to her one night? Because that's probably all I remembered. I mean, remember 2 weeks? I mean, like I said, I talked to hundreds of people. I don't remember talking to one girl. You know what I mean? Just one girl that got killed. You would remember that. Then why care what happened? You said it. I mean, it was so important. I mean, it is because it's two little kids getting killed in a town that's right by me, and that person's out here somewhere. And one of the girls that got killed, you talked to, including the day of. I mean, a lot of people get killed, and then people talk to him. What do you mean? That doesn't mean I killed him. I didn't say that. That's what you're like saying. Absolutely not. Did not say that. You're implying, nope, that I know something about that or anything like that. That's what you're implying. What I'm trying to do is clarify, and I'm telling you the truth, that I get that you don't believe me, okay? But I'm telling you the truth. Whether it's what my whatever psyche telling me to put that out of my mind, I don't remember. I don't remember what I told them 3 years ago. Are you guys seeing a pattern here? You guys seeing a pattern? Well, let me just break it down for all the troll farm in the back. First thing, he lied in 2017. Okay. Remember the adage, the truth never changes, right? The truth never changes. He didn't tell the truth in 2017, 2 weeks after the murder. So now that he's talking in whatever this is, 2020 or whatever it is, he's not remembering the lies that he told years ago. And he thinks he's smarter than these cops. So see, that's where I'm saying, like, the thing about him lying, yes, it happens. But some things are likely lies and some things are likely not lies. All right. So Anthony Schatz, when they were asking you, did you send her images? You said no because you didn't, but Anthony Schatz did? No, because I don't remember sending them anything. Okay, well, I'm telling you here, there's 3 off the bat. Here's another one. Here's a couple more, actually. And here's one specifically sent to her. Is it bad that I'm super into you? Like, I would say that to every one of those girls. I mean, it was the same thing with every one of those girls. But when you're telling me you never sent her, or Anthony Schatz never sent her, because I don't remember ever sending her anything. I don't ever remember talking to her. I remember talking to her friend. Like, you think you're going to catch me in a lie, and I'm not really lying to you at all. I don't remember it. I've caught you in a lie. You haven't. It is a lie. You haven't, though. You said you never sent her anything. And you asked me, do I remember that? And I said, no, I do not remember that. Blah, 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 blah. You see the bullshittery he's pulling, but what are you getting here? He's talking to Liberty and her friend. He's sending them images. Okay, he's sending them images.
All right. Okay. So Anthony Schatz communicated with Liberty German, and that's a fact that it wasn't just for a few hours at a sleepover. In your own admission, you said in the interview, it is a fact on a audio recorded and video recorded interview, you said, well, we never sent any pictures. And then the very next couple sentences, you said, well, I knew they were at a sleepover because they sent pictures to me. Yeah, she didn't, her friend did. So you knew they were there. I mean, you had said that she sent a picture. I remember that specifically. Just like, again, it's a fact. You're communicating to her multiple days at a time. Just like the other girls that you were talking to, including up to the day that she went missing right before. And what I want to know is you would communicate with her on what? The iPhone 5 was your primary device, right? Yeah, that's a fact. Okay. What other devices would you communicate with her on? I don't know. I don't have no clue of even what other devices would you communicate with anybody else on at that time? Well, on February 13th, this would have been logged in a little bit earlier. So that would have been 8 o'clock in the morning at your house, 67 Canal, okay, where you and your dad lived, two separate devices. See the numbers here, how they're the same. Log in, log out, log in, log out. One device, log in, log out, all within minutes of each other. To the same Anthony Schatz Snapchat account. What two devices were these? This is a fact. Yeah, I don't know. It had to be that Samsung Galaxy then or something. Why would you log in on two devices? Makes no sense. Having my Snapchat, my actual Snapchat open at the same time. This is the exact same Snapchat. This is the Anthony Schatz account. Yeah, I know, but like I'm saying, I'm using two different devices. Mine and then using another phone at the same time. Talking, you know what I mean? Yeah, but why would you do that? I mean, I talk to more girls. So it's the same account. Yeah, but the same account, you're using two phones? No, but what I'm saying is I logged out of that, log into my other phone. That's what I'm saying has to be the Galaxy. There was like a Samsung Galaxy S or something. It was white. I'm not sure. It had a cracked screen real bad because I sat on it. I bet it was cracked real bad, chubby. Okay. All right. Another fact then. You said I didn't talk to anyone about them being missing. Okay. Snapchat return. You had talked to one of her friends who had said to you, who I was talking to the whole time? Correct. That's who I remember. Correct. She said, did you hear about Liberty? And you respond on Anthony Schatz, OMG, what happened? That's talking to someone about two girls that were missing and then wound up dead. Listen, don't you find that odd? Did you hear about Liberty? OMG, what happened? That's kind of a dramatic response for a seemingly calm question. Did you hear about Liberty? Oh my God, what happened? Like, tweak much, bro? Tweak much? That's a total effing lie. That's a total effing lie. That's a total effing lie. That you see that? You see how he's notice the response there. All right, so here we go. Same conversation of the oh my God, what happened? Do. Anthony Schatz says, yeah, we're supposed to meet up, but she never showed up. That's a fucking lie. That's a fucking lie. That's a damn lie. That's a damn lie. Now, listen, you have someone responding in that way who's placed themselves there in Delphi, in the cemetery, waiting for 2 hours while he says his father and some other person goes to have fun, and then later tells people in Wabash that all he did was help move the bodies. And yes, Daniel Pearson and Keegan Kline do have connections. And there's proof. Who's William Brummett? Page 142. I went to school with him. Like high school? Yeah, I was friends with his sister. Who's that? Kalina Brummett. Why did you date her? No, I was really good friends with her though. Okay, what about Melissa Brummett? Who's that? Her mom, or her stepmom. Okay, who's Kalina's? Yeah, Williams too. Okay, who's Jessica Brummett? I mean, I'm guessing someone, maybe her cousin. Okay, what about Alexis Brummett, her little sister? Who's? William Kalina's. Okay, William and Kalina. Okay, so that's brother sister. I think they were half, but yeah. Okay, so who's Kyla Brummett? Who? Kyla Brummett. I don't know. Bruh. Are you seriously going to tell me you don't know Kyla Brummett? You know the entire fucking family. So you're speaking with Kyla Brummett and Libby German a week before they're killed at Kyla Brummett's house? If you went to school with William Brummett? Yeah, he was grades lower than me, but yeah, So what's your connection with that entire family? I actually used to stay with them a lot when I lived in Galveston. When they lived in Galveston, stayed with the family, the Brummetts. Okay. Look at this one. So a person associated with that family, directly associated with that family, was talking to Anthony Schatz, right? Probably Alexis, right? Had to be, and was looking to hook up with Anthony Schatz. So she gives an address to Anthony Schatz because she's coming home after school, and she wants to hook up because parents are not home after school for her. She wants she wants to the model, right? She wants to bang the model. This girl associated with the Brummett family gets off of school, and there's a guy with a ski mask peering in her bedroom window. So you're trying to say that's me or something? No. I'm not saying it's you. I'm just saying there's another coincidence that we have a girl talking to the Anthony Schatz account. Then she gives an address to Anthony Schatz because she wants to hook up with him. See, I don't even remember ever giving me an address, but we have it, right? And she did. In fact, there's actually a police report filed when it happened. And she comes home from school and sees this guy with a ski mask looking in her bedroom window directly after giving this address to Anthony Schatz. As a matter of fact, that's the incident that started everything else last time. That's how we started everything last time. And on top of that, you searched about the Brummetts on February 19th, 2017. Are your heads exploding yet? Question. February 19th, 2017. What is he doing searching Brummets? What do you mean I searched? Well, the day before that happened, your phone searched that you searched the Brummett family. What do you mean? I'm telling your phone search like on Facebook or something? Right. Okay. Another coincidence? Yeah, I see you're trying to put together this, but I swear to God, I was not looking in someone's effing. Where I know what you're trying. Da, 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 da. I could literally call Mike, her dad, right now and go over there, but they don't know you're Anthony Schatz. Exactly. But I'm saying if I wanted to get her or whatever, I would just effing go over there. But she wouldn't give it to Keegan, but she would give it to Anthony Schatz. No, she would though. She's told me before that she liked me. That's the whole reason why I would try to talk to her, because I knew she liked me. That doesn't mean I'm in a ski mask at her fucking house. So what were you concerned about with when you're in Vegas? Let's go even before you were in Vegas about somehow being connected to Liberty German. Because I talked to her friend on the phone. All right, so I'm going to sort of hold on. So you were let's see. So you were trying to get nude images from Liberty and spoke to her actually. Oh, that's any girl I talk to. Okay. You know your dad's Facebook friends with some of Abby's mother's friends, right? Your girlfriend, your current girlfriend, is friends on Facebook with one of Liberty's ex-boyfriends. Small town USA, right? So there's this stuff that you know that maybe like if we're in Chicago or something, you'd look at. So you take that, for example, then small town USA, you know the Brummets. Okay, they're at a sleepover at the Brummett residence, and that's how you know the whole thing with the Liberty when she was speaking with Anthony Schatz. They were at the Brummets, and here we are. They're at the Brummets, and this is the Brummett family, the family of Brummets, and the family that Keegan Kline knows, not Anthony Schatz. Anthony Schatz knows. So now we're worried about grooming. We have a guy that has troves of child pornography on his devices. We have Liberty being groomed. And unfortunately, she was completely enthralled with Anthony Schatz. Completely. You know what I'm talking about? Like this rich, hot guy, with the abs and shit. She's completely in love with Anthony Schatz. So this account that you set up, I'm sure you've seen our social media said something like, waiting for Peter Pan to come. And it's almost like this little hanging fruit statement for someone who would target girls. Oh, yes, it is. See, an actual bomb drop there. Blah, blah, I'm a little whatever waiting for my Peter Pan. That's a signal to the child predators, right? You probably see it and think this is going to be an easy target. What more of a targeting thing, right? Maybe you didn't go into depth of how much depth you went into looking for girls you wanted to get nudes from as Anthony Schatz. Just like buckshot method, see who comes back. But regardless, she bought the story. She bought the account. So we have a friend saying that she knew she was trying to meet up with Anthony Schatz. Okay. And we have the day and we have multiple device logins from within minutes of one another. And the day you give your polygraph, your interview, you were steadfast. I met them beginning of February, like the 1st or 2nd. You were steadfast. You never came off that.
I never spoke to her beyond February 1st or 2nd. And we know you spoke to her the day she was murdered. You said, absolutely not. I blocked her. She was annoying me after the 1st or 2nd. We have these images. You saying that's not, that's a nude. What are you for? We have these grooming pictures. We have the money, the Anthony Shots money going to her. Right? So that starts to stack after a while. We have the Kick Messenger, messages with all these daddy references. With regardless of what you say, there are two different authors of these messages, regardless of what you say. Now listen, y'all. They're both not you. They're not both you. They're both your devices, but they're mixed. The phrasing's different. It changes. It's not the same person. So we know we have multiple account logins with Snapchat. We have two different people using Kick Messenger. Sorry, I forgot to turn the page. Okay, down here at the bottom. They're both not you. Okay, it's not the same person. We have multiple logins. We have two different people using Kick Messenger, talking with people from your residence. I mean, that's 100% sure. We know it for a fact. So remove yourself from all the bullshit and trying to pick out every individual piece. It starts to crack. It just keeps stacking. So during that time frame where this grooming would have been built up to meeting, it's gone. It's gone. All that history's gone. It's wiped from your phone. But your other devices are complete. So now it all starts to stack, the complexity of your Anthony Shots persona. You're searching nonstop about the Delphi investigation when you're supposed to be on vacation. You're actually still sending Snapchats to Liberty when you know she's dead. Did y'all know that? You're still sending Snapchats to Liberty when you know she's dead. And remember, it's two different accounts. Why would you, after you failed your polygraph about knowing about Delphi investigation, come home, delete your Snapchat, Instagram, which you use to communicate with Libby, and then you search how long does DNA last? Why would you do that? Yeah, I don't know. Why would you care how long DNA can last? What if it lasts 100 years? What would it matter to you if it was on the body? Then it would matter, right? But you knew 110% your DNA wouldn't be there, right? Right. Because in my mind, I'm thinking these people, but you failed the polygraph. And then again, something else that stacks up is when you talk to investigators. I mean, this is fresh in your mind when you just got back from Vegas. You've been nonstop searching this stuff. You've been talking about it with other girls that knew Libby. You've been searching it before you went to Vegas, and then you tell investigators, I was with my dad all day. We went to grandma and grandpa's at noon. So let me shut this down. Because that's really it. Okay, that's it. There's a few more things, but here's what I want to get into. What was it fucking called? We need to talk about the Venmo, right? Isn't it a Venmo? Because there's more in here, and I highly recommend that you all go get this and take a closer look at it.
And this, we're going to get this one. Pardon me, my throat. But before I show you this, let me ask you this. With all of that insanity, pardon, why would Keegan Kline be sending money after getting nudes do you honestly think those little girls, come on now, let's be real here. Here's where I'm gonna respect the victims a little. Do you honestly think that Abby was selling nudes for money? Come on. Abby's not selling nudes. Do you honestly think that Libby is selling nudes? They might be taking nudes, they might be sending nudes, but they're not selling nudes. Okay, these are little girls. I mean, but who's receiving money from Keegan Kline? Could it be someone who has access to these girls' accounts? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's much more likely. Much more likely. And as I mentioned, remember who Keegan is associated to, okay? Keegan is directly associated to Ron Logan. All right? Austin Popejoy. Garrett Kurtz. Who else? Who else? Remember Sonny Justice? Let's pull that one back up. Okay? Remember Sonny Justice? Let's pull her back up. Also, Jason Palladino, Sheena Cottrell, right? Who connects to Nick Edwards. So see, when you're looking at Keegan, you cannot look at Keegan as an isolated fat boy, okay? Keegan is connected to lots of people. Kyla Brummett. By the way, who was behind the Eleanor 18 account? This is from his probable cause affidavit. August 19th, 2020. Veto. The undersigned says on February 25th, 2017, the ISP and FBI executed a search warrant, Keegan Kline's and Tony Kline's, while working the Delphi case. The FBI sent information to the ISP cybercrimes unit that an adult male was soliciting female juveniles utilizing social media platforms, Snapchat and Instagram. The adult male was using the username Anthony Shots. Subpoenas were sent to Instagram and Snapchat for the Anthony Shots account information. The Instagram and Snapchat returns provided Comcast IP addresses. A subpoena was sent to Comcast for the IP addresses associated with the Anthony Shots account, and they returned to Keegan Klein and Tony Klein's house in Peru, Indiana, Canal Street, 67. The Instagram subpoena advised the Anthony Shots account was registered on 7/20/2016. And the Snapchat return advised the account was registered on 7/14/2016. On February 25, 2017, at approximately 12:30 p.m., the search warrant was executed on the residence by ISP, FBI, and Peru Police Department. Jerry Klein, his son Keegan Anthony Klein, were located at the residence. Jerry was investigated by or interviewed by ISP Sergeant Kunstek and FBI Special Agent Willman. Jerry was read his rights and agreed to speak with investigators. Jerry confirmed they had Comcast as their internet provider, and it was a secured network. Jerry told investigators that Keegan did use Instagram and Snapchat. At approximately 1:25, Keegan was interviewed by ISP Sergeant Kunstek and FBI Special Agent Willman. Keegan was read his rights and agreed to speak, and that's what we were reading some of. During Keegan's interview, he initially denied creating the fake social media accounts and talking to underage girls. Later in the interview, he admitted to creating the Anthony Shots profile and speaking to underage girls. Keegan told investigators he created the accounts approximately 6 months ago. Keegan stated he talks to girls he knows personally and girls he doesn't know personally. Keegan stated he meets girls on Instagram. He said the girls he knows, the age of the girls he communicates with, but still talks to them. Keegan stated if a girl told him she was 16 or under, he wouldn't care and would still talk to them. And you all know this, okay? This is old news. Keegan told investigators he finds girls on Instagram and then tells them to talk to him on Snapchat. Keegan admitted to speaking to approximately 15 girls that were underage and advised he probably received pictures from every one of them. He advised he saved their pictures to his gallery. During his interview, Keegan stated he was effed and he should have left. Keegan advised he packed another bag and took it to Las Vegas. Jerry and Keegan returned from Las Vegas on February 25th, 2017. He stated he was going to leave when his dad was asleep. Keegan told investigators the main phone he uses is the white iPhone 5C. After Keegan's interview, he was polygraphed at the Peru State Police Post by Sergeant Matthew Collins. Keegan and Sergeant Collins spoke about this incident and case. Keegan admitted to creating the fake Anthony Shots profiles and speaking to underage girls. Keegan told Sergeant Collins the girls ranged from 15 to 17, and he knew their ages because they told him how old they were. Keegan stated he received approximately 100 sexual pictures from underage girls. Keegan described sexual pictures as bare breast, vaginas, butts, and girls in bras and panties. Keegan also advised he received approximately 20 videos of underage girls masturbating. Keegan stated he would masturbate to the pictures and videos they sent him. He also communicated this to girls who were sending the pictures and videos. Keegan's polygraph questions were based on the case. Delphi. Keegan's polygraph was concluded at approximately 7:30 p.m. and he was transported back to his residence. Okay. Then they go into talking about the devices and the user accounts. Okay. On the Apple iPhone 4, there were multiple teens, multiple CSAM, and he was using the account EmilyAnn45. There were files located that depicted children between the ages of 3 and 11 engaged in sex acts with adults. Okay. EmilyAnn45. EmilyAnn. Okay. Snap. The user had used the EmilyAnn identity in 2015 on the Samsung Galaxy S4. KickChat92 Apple iPhone 4. EmilyAnn and redacted. I sure would love to know. Well, that it's one of the victims. There's several of the victims here, but this is highly redacted. And we'll just, you'll see. Okay. Highly redacted. There's a Kick Chat 4, still Emily Ann. iPhone 4, Kick Chat 40. More victims here. You see all of that. Kick Chat 84, there's more Emily Ann. And keeps going, keeps going. Now we're going to get to the Snapchats, which are, we're almost there. Whoops, I passed it. I don't know, shit. This is a lot. Snapchat there. Snapchat, he's using Anthony Shot. Not shots, shot. Okay. Anthony Shot. Okay, and there's descriptions of what that all is. Okay, Apple iPhone 3G, he's using Keggy. Keggy. There's Skype and Kick Messenger. There's all kind of description of that. We don't need to really go into it. Samsung Galaxy S5. Klein Photography. Oh, man. It's bad. It's bad. Samsung Galaxy S4. Emily Ann and Keegan Klein. Okay. Nextbook Premium Tablet. There you go. Apple iPod Touch. You know, as you've noticed, every single one of these devices has sexual imagery and these messaging from these accounts. Apple iPhone 5C. Okay. Plenty of stuff here. This is bad. Notice he's using an app called Meet Me on this device. Meet Me. Okay. All right. So before we get done with this particular angle, we want to talk about this. So according to let's see. Meet Me is a dating app created in 2006 as My Yearbook. 2011 was renamed Meet Me. Okay. So let's be done with this. So my question, what happened? There's one more thing that I have here that I don't know, I've seen the loss, but I don't feel like looking at anymore. Okay, I think we're done with these. I can't, my eyes can't handle it. My throat's going. Eyes and throat are going. But question here. And this is going to be a tough one. Does Keegan know something? I'm asking the chat. Does Keegan know something? Thank you, Mark Ellis. Thank you, Mark. Mark, thanks so much. Does Keegan know something? walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's a duck. It's a duck. Now, do I think Keegan killed those girls? No. I don't think he killed the girls. I think he was surrounded by criminals. I mean, look at it this way. Let's say there's a trap that is set. The trap is a bunch of criminals. Listen, I always used to mention Garrett Kurtz. Murderers, who murders people? Let's see. Murderers murder people, right? He was surrounded by criminals. He has zero fucks about whatever. And he's scared, probably. He's surrounded by criminals. These criminals are the trap. I think that there were more than one person that had access to his accounts, and particularly the Emily Ann and Anthony shots. You heard who I assume was Mr. Vito there, but I'm not sure. I actually don't know. I have to go back through those through that transcript and determine who is who. But the officers lay down some absolute facts. There was money exchanged. There was ongoing grooming or attempts at grooming these girls while asking for nudes. Libby was absolutely in love or lust or delusion about this Anthony Shots. So obviously they would use that. Okay, you have a fish on a hook, right? The hook is the Anthony Shots male model. She's drooling, and he hooked her. They think they're going to meet. You know, we just looked at Jerry Holman confirming. They believe they're going to meet Anthony Shots, who they're in love with. Infatuated. There you go. Thanks for the help. Thank you. It's hard to talk. It's hard to talk. Thanks for the help. Yeah, she's infatuated with this model, Anthony Shots. You've got a trap set, which is you got a whole bunch of criminals. In my theory, your criminals are there. The trap is set. The bait is Anthony Shots. And someone delivers these girls right into the trap. Now, the funny thing about that, Kelsey pretended to not know about communicating with Anthony Shots. But I have often wondered, was it Kelsey and Bree who were seen out there that day by Betsy Blair? It really does seem like it was Kelsey and Bree who were. So that would mean Kelsey is being deceptive about getting out of the vehicle and walking with Bree. So Is Kelsey being deceptive on multiple fronts here? Why would there be a need for Kelsey and Bree to be out there? Thank you, Faith Ross. Thank you. That's so sweet. Thank you. I'm just saying this. Everyone who has behaved bizarrely and put up these red flags. Remember earlier we discussed the red flags? You have all these people throwing up red flags. Keegan and everyone surrounding him. Ron Logan and everyone surrounding him. The family. Some of the witnesses. I really do believe that this Anthony Schatz dilemma here is at the crux of the matter. And it seems like Keegan is afraid to talk. And it seems like Holman cannot build the probable cause. And therefore, you're stuck with a fairy tale, which is Richard Allen just decided to coincidentally also predate on two children like Anthony Schatz was doing by luring them out there. This is why I really do believe that, I truly believe that identifying the truth about the Anthony Schatz account and the Emily Ann accounts, okay, identifying the true users behind those accounts who are not Keegan Klein, it's crucial to this case. And isn't it just so odd that your judge, Francis Gull, blocked all attempts to include Jerry and Keegan Klein, any mention of them, just like she blocked Ron Logan, just like she blocked anything from the Franks memorandum. I got a question for you. What if all of the above were somehow intertwined in this thing? I mean, pretty much like's been said from day one. And the judge does not allow any of it in? Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. I mean, shit. Then the question would be, did she do it knowingly to obstruct justice and prevent the truth from surfacing? Or was it just by chance that she thought she was doing the right thing? Because like her assistant said, Richard Allen's 100% guilty and he needs to go away and serve a harsh punishment, the worst of the worst. Remember, I showed you that. I think that's worth putting up in your face again, too, because was this it? Yeah, this is it. A person who works for Judge Gull is my source. I'm talking about this person. She's seen all the documents. She says Richard Allen is guilty of sin. She's 100% sure, wants harsh punishment to happen. She was just saying how she hopes Judge Gull keeps him in Westville because that's where he belongs. So your judge seems to have made up her mind, you know. So I don't know. Which side does it land on? You just that convinced about Richard Allen? Or were you protecting this whole group? Because you know what it seems to me? And it's always seemed to me this way, and it will always seem this way to me. You're hiding people. You're protecting people. People are being protected in Delphi. Why? I mean, listen, if you honestly believe that me, Raffy, Joe Lewis, Rick Snay, all of us are absolutely wrong, but the amount of work we've put in, the people we've talked to, the number of locals who have confided in us, the receipts we've shown. Do you realize the thousands of receipts that I have thrown onto this screen in the past 2 years for you to prove to you for yourself? So because I want you to be convinced from yourself. I don't want to convince you of anything. I want you to see for yourself, convince yourself of what you think is credible and what is not. I swear to God. I swear to God. Someone's being protected here. So, and by someone, that means plural. That means a group. Someone's are being protected here. Who? We've gave up everything. Listen, I lost a lot of money doing this case. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Rick Snay lost his wife, his job. Look at Raffy. You don't know what Raffy has lost because he's been private about it. Look at Joe Lewis. Joe Lewis lost 5 years of work. We've all lost a lot by trying to shine a light on this. Something that looks, if you think that we have lost for nothing, then you don't understand what we're trying to stand up for here. I knew the day that I committed to Abby and Libby, I knew that it was going to be a long wait. I knew it. But I remember that day. I sort of dedicated myself to standing up for them. Because look, I don't care whether you're Becky Patty, Kelsey German, Derek German, Carrie Timmons, Fran Gold, Nick McClelland. But listen, those girls cannot stand up and speak for themselves. So I decided I was going to stand up and speak for them. And I'm telling you, I was sitting and thinking, what do I need to focus on now in this downtime? Because we're having a little downtime right now. Anthony Schatz, Emily Ann. See, they cannot say that Anthony Schatz is not no connection to Delphi. They love to say that. These idiots love to say there's no connection to Delphi. Well, shit, I just read you Jerry Holman telling you himself. Oh, let me put it back on the screen because I hate not rubbing it in. Okay, I hate not rubbing it in. And that's not it. There it is. What does that say? Let me pull it up so I can read it. My eyes are shot. Through the investigation, we know the girls were communicating through Snapchat with the Anthony Schatz account using Liberty's phone. We have reasonable belief that they thought they were going to meet Anthony Schatz. Like I said, it's written in stone now. Anthony Schatz, we know is Keegan Klein, and the other individual, we don't know. Get it? They were going to meet Anthony Schatz that day, and they got murdered. Now, were they going to meet Keegan Klein, or were they going to meet the mystery person behind the Anthony Schatz account and Emily Ann account? Well, I hope that that everyone watching this will understand that this is important, and don't stop digging. Remember, there's been so much on social media that has been said, revealed, disclosed. There's so much still to uncover in this case, and I hope that this has been valuable to you. I know it's been 3.5 hours of your life. It's been 3.5 hours of mine and my little kids in the next room. Like I said many times, he's sacrificed for you and them girls just like I have. And so I've said so many times, I think the truth has been out there from day one pretty much. It's just that we all refuse to accept it because it's right in our faces. It is kind of like Doug Carter said, right? It's in plain sight. There's plenty of tentacles. It's the epitome of evil. Now, I don't know why he did what he did, which was turn his back on these girls, but he said some very interesting things in the early days. So I cannot necessarily, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to attempt to make this available for you who don't have it already. But this, okay, so I want to kind of bring it back full circle and remind you, this document here, you all need, okay? This one here. You can screenshot it so you can know what to look for. Videotape statement of Keegan A. Klein on August 19, 2020. Okay. You need that. And I still think there's details in there that I haven't even put together yet when I've read it. It's almost like every time I come back to it, I have new ideas. What's up, Rick Snay? What's up, Rick? I was just talking about you. You were your ears itching? Yeah. But no, we're done. And I want to thank everyone for being here. That was a long show. Who are the hidden users, or who is the hidden user behind the Anthony Schatz account and the Emily Ann 45 account and any of these other accounts? Who's the hidden users? I think that will answer a lot. But please catch the replay. Please, if you're on the replay, leave a comment down below, please, because the comments are cool to watch. Also, for you who are, put it in the comment section. For those of you who'd like to support the channel, that's what I'm getting to, my little commercial. We have Snapchat, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you for supporting the channel, right? Thank you for supporting the channel. With our Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, Super Chats, and all that thing, and hitting the like on the way out, please support the channel. We do appreciate it. Now I got to call Rick because I cannot bear it. And so I'll talk to Rick. And anyway, you guys, please also do the same. Go to Delphi After Dark, Rick Snae's channel, and support his channel. Send him a super chat or a little gift. Support both of us. We appreciate the support, and we are trying our best to stand up for Libby and Abby. We truly are. And so God bless you all, and I appreciate you for being here. And with that, my voice is shot and my eyes are gone. So we are done. But God bless you all. I want to thank you for those who sent me any of the support today. I see some buy me a coffees, and I see plenty of super chats and some memberships. Thank you. Jake Brooks gifted 10 memberships. That's really nice, Jake. Thanks. I'm sure the beneficiaries will be so appreciative, and so did Oleg Cat. Thank you for sending the memberships to our viewers. Appreciate it. And if you all have not received a membership, keep in mind you have to go and hit accept memberships. There's some sort of button like that. You hit accept gifts of memberships or something. One of the mods could probably better explain it, but there's a button. Okay, so hit the like, hide your wives, hide your kids, go hug your wives and hug your kids. And anyway, I just love you guys. All right, peace out. God bless Libby and Abby. God bless the United States of America. And have a good night. We'll see you soon. Hopefully be back tomorrow, the next day. Okay. God bless. Please share the video.